Chapter 12:17. The true flames of destruction burned wildly. Countless poisonous gases were completely ignited at this moment and burned to ashes. Spiritual fire. The green figure was stunned. He immediately recognized the origin of Tianyang's true flames of destruction. However, his expression darkened. What kind of strange spiritual fire is this? As the medicine demon venomous insect saint, his understanding of the way of poison had reached the sage realm. Even if the spiritual fire had great destructive power against poison, it was absolutely impossible for the spiritual fire of a half-saint to ignite his poison so easily. In other words, this spiritual fire was not ordinary. I didn't expect to meet such a person as soon as I came out. The heavens are really kind to me. Zhao hung. That's good too. Before we find the bastards of the 10,000 Dan Sacred Sect to take revenge, we'll first kill this brat and snatch his spiritual fire. At that time, we'll be able to cut everyone in the 10,000 Dan Sacred Sect into pieces even more easily. The green figure's lips curled. The next moment, he disappeared from a spot. A huge storm of goo worms condensed and charged toward Tianyang. Demonic goo explosion. The green figure laughed wildly. There was a strong sense of madness in his laughter. After being catalyzed by the green figure, countless worm eggs instantly turned into terrifying flying goo worms. Hundreds of millions of goo worms flew toward Tianyang together. That kind of horror was enough to make anyone tremble in fear. Worms again. Tianyang frowned. It was not that Tianyang had never seen poison cultivators who played with goo worms. In his previous life, Tianyang had killed many of them in the Tianshao Great World. However, this did not mean that poison cultivators were easy to deal with. These goo worms were extremely troublesome to deal with, even a little bit of them. Burn! With a cold snort, the true flames of destruction burned fiercely. The true flames of destruction that had merged with the 10,000 poisons hellfire was the natural nemesis of these goo worms. Ordinary level 7 spiritual fires were not very lethal to goo worms. However, level 7 poison flames were different. With a slash of the sword, 10,000 flames rose. The entire demonic goo storm disappeared by half an instant. How can he be so strong? Seeing this, the green figure revealed a look of disbelief. Even if this flame was a 7th level spiritual fire, it was a little too powerful. Since when was the venomous insect of the medicine demon venomous insect saint so easy to deal with? Little cutie can't do anything to you, so let me personally kill you. The medicine demon venomous saint showed a hint of madness. The next moment, the speed of the sage realm erupted. Compared to when the medicine god gate's old ancestor made a move, it was much stronger. The fist was filled with countless deadly toxins. It appeared behind Tianyang in an instant and headed straight for Tianyang's head. However, Tianyang's eyes narrowed, and the undying flame burned. Then, he counterattacked with his sword. Boom! The medicine demon venomous insect saint's face instantly turned ferocious. With a roar, the true essence of the saint realm bloomed. However, the terrifying sword chi still repelled the medicine demon and the venomous insect saint in an instant. Then, a terrifying flame attack followed. Undying divine flame. True annihilation flames. Damn it! The medicine demon venomous insect saint's fist was still burning with undying divine flame. The medicine demon venomous insect saint had roamed the Xintian Great World for hundreds of thousands of years, but he had never seen such a strange flame. Obviously, there was no fluctuation of spiritual fire, but it was much stronger than spiritual fire. The toxins that he had carefully prepared evaporated the moment they came into contact with the flame. He had been sealed for hundreds of thousands of years. He was lucky that he was not killed by the seal. For such a lethal poison, every time he used it in a short period of time, it would be depleted. Damn it! The medicine demon venomous insect saint's face twisted to the extreme. Every time the toxins disappeared, it made his heart ache. What's more, all the poison in his fist had been burned to ashes. Dying. Toxic dragon drill. The medicine demon venomous insect saint roared ferociously. A silver light flashed, and a huge drill suddenly appeared in his hand. The drill was engraved with terrifying dark green runes. At the center of the drill was an enlarged version of the red-black insect that had swallowed the medicine god gate elder. Toxic dragon drill. Seeing this, a powerhouse showed a trace of disbelief and fear. This sacred artifact, the Bantan Simun, is not destroyed. I don't know how many peak half-saints and saints died because of this toxic dragon drill. A half-saint roared with deep fear in his eyes. 130,000 years ago, he was just a first-stage Wuzun. In the ruins of a city, he witnessed with his own eyes 13 half-saints and 2 saints being pierced through one by one, paralyzed, and finally poisoned to death by the medicine demon venomous insect saint with the toxic dragon drill. The toxic dragon drill was not only a sacred artifact with terrifying lethality, but it was also the amalgamation of countless toxins from the medicine demon venomous insect saint. It was not an exaggeration to say that it would kill anyone who touched it. Die for me. The medicine demon venomous insect saint roared. The toxic dragon drill in his hand bloomed with terrifying light. Together with the medicine demon venomous insect saint, it turned into a stream of light and charged toward Tianyang. Tianyang frowned and instantly shot out the true flames of destruction in his hand. It's useless. The medicine demon venomous insect saint laughed wildly. My toxic dragon drill is useless even if it's an 8th-stage spiritual fire. The toxic dragon drill is poison. The next moment, the true flames of destruction and the toxic dragon drill collided fiercely. However, the true flames of destruction that ignited the poison and killed the toxins had no effect after meeting the toxic dragon drill. Instead, it was directly penetrated by the toxic dragon drill. What? Seeing this, Tianyang showed a hint of shock. The spiritual fire had no effect on the toxic dragon drill? Die. The medicine demon venomous insect saint roared ferociously. Then the space flickered. The drill bit of the toxic dragon drill was less than a meter away from Tianyang's face. The immortal divine fire burned. After all, the immortal divine fire was a powerful bloodline power passed down by the immortal heavenly lord. Even though the toxic dragon drill was incomparably powerful, it was still weakened by a lot in an instant. However, the remaining toxic dragon drill could still hit Tianyang. Then it would be poisoned to death. Ha 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 ha. After killing you, I'll go find the bastards of Bantan Simun. Once the bastards of Bantan Simun are dead, I, Zhao Heng, will be the invincible poison saint Zhao Heng 130,000 years ago. Looking at Tianyang's face, the medicine demon venomous insect saint's face instantly became distorted and ferocious. His 2 eyes began to distort abnormally. His left eye became smaller than a finger, and his right eye was as big as a fist. The corners of his mouth were pulled up to his temples. Coupled with the crisscrossing wrinkles, the medicine demon venomous insect saint looked like a human, but he was already distorted. In order to cultivate poison, he's been eroded by the poison. Now, he can't be considered a human. A half-saint expert said. In order to cultivate poison, the medicine demon venomous insect saint had completely distorted and gone crazy. But now it seemed that the power brought by this madness was also extremely strong. Tianyang would definitely die. Boom! The toxic dragon drill fell. Tianyang's body instantly burst into pieces. Something's wrong. The medicine demon venomous insect saint's distorted face instantly changed. How could there be no resistance at all? He looked down. Unknowingly, the shattered Tianyang had turned into the decapitated medicine god sect master. The Boundless 9 changes is really strong. In the distance, Tianyang chuckled softly. The Boundless 9 changes, shifting change. The strongest move was the spatial shift just now. Little bastard. Seeing this, the medicine demon venomous insect saint immediately went crazy and charged toward Tianyang again. At this moment, flames suddenly burned on the great void sword embryo in Tianyang's hand. It just so happens that I learned something from the demonic book of the great Lord of Heaven. Tianyang suddenly raised his head and revealed a faint smile. Then let's see how strong this fire that is known to burn the heavens is. In the next moment, Tianyang slashed out with his sword. The monstrous demonic fire merged with the immortal divine fire and the true flames of destruction, turning into a sword light and violently attacking. In midair, it instantly spread into a sea of fire. The entire sky was dyed black. What? Seeing this, the medicine demon venomous insect saint's expression changed drastically. A sword burned the eastern sky. Chapter 12:18. Demonic Flame. This was a powerful superpower that Tianyang had cultivated in the great Lord of Heaven's legacy. Although it was a demonic martial technique, it was as powerful as the ancient blood seal and could be cultivated by humans. On the way back, Tianyang had been concentrating on cultivating this powerful superpower. Finally, he had unleashed it. With a slash of his sword, the demonic flame burned the sky. In an instant, the toxic dragon drill was shrouded by the raging flames. How could this be? The medicine demon venomous goo saint was in disbelief. With a roar, he unleashed his saint-level genuine vitality again. Go to hell! Dark green light was released from the toxic dragon drill to resist the burning of the demonic flame. However, it could withstand the demonic flame. However, it might not be able to withstand the true destructive flame, let alone the immortal divine flame. However, in the blink of an eye, the poisonous green light surrounding the toxic dragon drill was completely burned away. Even more than half of the toxic dragon drill itself was burned away. This kind of power was simply terrifying. Damn it! The medicine demon venomous goo saint roared and retreated immediately. However, the flames were still entangled around the toxic dragon drill like maggots in a corpse. Seeing that the toxic dragon drill had lost nearly 30% of its power, the medicine demon venomous goo saint's eyes flashed with a pained look. The toxic dragon drill was a supreme, sacred artifact. It was a terrifying existence that could not be found even after 100,000 years of searching. How dare you hurt my toxic dragon drill? The medicine demon venomous goo saint's twisted face flashed with a gloomy and furious look. The next moment, he stomped his foot on the ground. Huge spatial rifts appeared in the sky. Goo King. Medicine demon venomous goo. The medicine demon venomous goo saint roared. Suddenly, a gloomy purple light flashed in the spatial cracks. Then, all over the small world of Medicine God Sect, weirdly shaped spatial rifts appeared and emitted the same purple light at the same time. Medicine demon venomous goo? Upon hearing that, Tianyang raised his eyebrows. Hearing the medicine demon venomous insect saint's roar, some experts in the distance revealed looks of disbelief. Divine medicine venomous insect? So that rumor is true. What rumor? Hearing this, countless experts' expressions changed slightly, and they hurriedly asked. Legend has it that after the Medicine God Sect's patriarch found the Medicine God Sect's lesser world, he reached an agreement with the Medicine Demon Goo Saint that was being suppressed there. The Medicine Demon Goo Saint used the power of the seal to strengthen the environment of the Medicine God Sect's lesser world. He even handed over many of his precious Pill Dao heritage. As for the Medicine God Sect, they have to promise to protect the Medicine Demon Goo Saint from being killed by the seal and release him one day. That expert's teeth were chattering as he spoke. Hearing those words, the hearts of the crowd turned cold. If such a rumor had been made 2 days ago, everyone would have thought it was a rumor used by a competitor to smear the Medicine God Sect's reputation. But now, the facts in front of them all matched the rumor. In fact, it even exceeded it. Moreover, the rumor also said that the Medicine God Sect seems to be helping the Medicine Demon Goo Saint suppress, but in reality, they're helping the Medicine Demon Goo Saint raise parasites. Then the Medicine God Goo Saint. Immediately, all the spectating experts fell silent. The surrounding air became deathly silent. Originally, This move was used to deal with the sect master of the Banten Simeon, but I didn't expect to encounter a bastard who has no choice but to use this move now. The medicine demon Gu Saint laughed maniacally. In the next moment, the rays of purple light burned brightly. The entire world was covered in purple. Even the demonic fire that had burned through the sky was suppressed by it. In the next moment, the spatial cracks suddenly shifted and merged into one, forming a huge spatial hole. A behemoth walked out of the spatial hole. Its body was oval, and it had 6 slender legs. Its entire body was purple-black, but there were strange red patterns on it. The 2 antennae looked short, but if one looked closely, they were as big as a mountain. Even the 6 legs were relatively slender. If each of them landed on the ground, they would be as big as a mountain. The entire giant insect was probably the size of a city. Its appearance was extremely ferocious and terrifying. Just looking at it was enough to make countless people tremble in fear. Is this still a goo insect? Some experts held their breaths as they looked at the purple-black giant insect in the sky. This giant insect could no longer be considered a goo insect. It was practically a saint among the insect race. Medicine god Gu Saint, destroy it. The medicine demon Gu Saint roared crazily. In the next moment, the medicine god Gu Saint trembled slightly. It moved. The 2 antennae were like long whips that had been enlarged countless times, and they lashed out at Tianyang. Even if the toxins on them were not taken into account, the force alone was enough to break the bones of those who were hit. This is a little troublesome. Tianyang frowned. He did not expect the medicine god sect to be so crazy as to release such a terrifying existence. He suddenly slashed with the great void sword embryo in his hand. Boom! The 2 giant antennae collided violently with the great void sword embryo. The Saint Realm sword principle erupted at this moment. The 2 antennae instantly broke, and disgusting dark green pus spurted out. Tianyang's figure flashed, and he perfectly dodged the attack of the poisonous pus. In the next moment, he charged at the medicine demon Gu Saint. He could tell that the medicine god venomous insect did not have any intelligence. Everything was controlled by the medicine demon Gu Saint. Seeing this, the medicine demon Gu Saint's expression changed slightly, but his face was still ferocious and cruel. Medicine god Gu Saint, the medicine demon Gu Saint formed a seal with both hands, and a series of seals were cast. The giant insect that covered the entire medicine god sect's small world suddenly flattened. Countless purple-black fog spewed out. Dragon Emperor body. Tianyang frowned. He did not dare to underestimate it, and he instantly channeled the dragon power into his sword. He slashed at the medicine demon Gu Saint with his sword. Reincarnation of life and death. A destructive and terrifying sword light condensed at this moment, and it was infused with the dragon power. The Saint Realm sword principle, the path of life and death, slashed out fiercely. However, the strange thing was that when the sword light shuttled through the thick fog, it quickly melted like snow meeting fire. When it reached the medicine demon Gu Saint, only a little bit of sword light was left, and the medicine demon Gu Saint casually wiped it away. This poisonous fog is so strong. Seeing this, Tianyang's expression also darkened. With the poisonous fog around, the sword light that Tianyang slashed out from afar was almost useless. However, with the giant insect's protection, it was almost impossible for him to fight the medicine demon Gu Saint at close range. A demon that can destroy half of the eastern sky divine land. No wonder it is so strong. Tianyang's expression was grave. At this moment, a voice suddenly sounded in Tianyang's mind. Chapter 12:19. The Venomous Worm King. Tianyang's face revealed a hint of surprise. What is that? The king of venomous insects is a miraculous item that exists in many worlds. However, it is extremely rare. The little golden girl explained, the venomous worm king is only the size of a grain of rice when it's young, but as time passes, it will grow bigger and bigger. In the end, The venomous worm king will grow without limit. It's even possible for it to grow to the size of a city or even a country, the little golden girl said. Hearing this, Tianyang's face suddenly changed. Grow without limit? Now that the venomous worm king was already the size of a city, it was already extremely terrifying. If it continued to grow, wouldn't it be able to easily destroy a major force? Such an existence was indeed incomparably terrifying. It was no wonder that the medicine demon venomous worm saint could destroy half of the eastern divine land hundreds of thousands of years ago. With the venomous worm king in hand, it could easily cause great destruction. Tianyang cast his gaze on the huge venomous worm king. Due to its size, it was not easy for the venomous worm king to launch an attack. The medicine demon venomous worm saint was also extremely wary of the powerful attack that Tianyang had slashed out previously. For a moment, he did not dare to act rashly. Tianyang also had a chance to communicate with the little golden girl. Then, how do I kill the venomous worm king? Tianyang asked. With his current cultivation base of the heavenly expanse 9 changes, it was easy for him to escape from a medicine demon venomous worm saint. However, there were still various forces behind him. It was easy for him to escape, but the immortality realm that he had just rescued from the medicine god sect, Dansinaville, and Jiangbei City would be destroyed again. Although Tianyang did not care about many things, once it was related to himself, Tianyang could not help but be concerned. Kill it. You are really wasting God's gift. Hearing this, the little golden girl was stunned. Then she chuckled and said, You want to kill such a mysterious object? Do you know that if the venomous worm king is raised well, it is not impossible for it to step into the great saint realm in the future? Someone else's. Tianyang said faintly. The venomous insect king had long been controlled by the medicine demon venomous goose saint. Even if he killed the medicine demon venomous goose saint, he would not be able to fully control the venomous insect king. What's more, the venomous worm king's appearance was so ugly that Tianyang felt disgusted just by looking at it. Control? Before controlling the venomous goo king to kill people, he would probably vomit first. TSK, that's really a pity. However, the death of the goo king is quite useful. There is a huge energy core in the venomous insect king's body, which is the foundation for its unlimited growth. If you can get it, your strength will soar again. Now, how do we kill it? Tianyang said indifferently. Hearing this, the little golden girl fell silent. Then she spoke. The venomous worm king is huge. It won't be easy to kill it. One of them is to kill the person who controls it. The venomous worm king's intelligence is weakening as its body grows. I'm afraid the venomous worm king is now a retard. However, since you came to me, you definitely can't kill the person who controls it. So, it can only be the second one. The little golden girl said, The second one is to completely cut off the connection between the venomous worm king and the person who controls it. The third one is to break the energy core. You definitely can't do that. So, you can only use the primordial spirit power to cut off the connection. I can teach you a primordial spirit attack technique. However, as a price, you have to give me the energy core of the venomous worm king that you get later. The little golden girl said. At this moment, she was no longer the little golden girl who was talking nonsense with Tianyang. She was the Heavens Expanse Holy Spirit from the Heavens Expanse Temple. Okay, Tianyang nodded. The venomous worm king was too ugly. Tianyang felt disgusted just by touching it. Moreover, he had to dig out the energy core directly. Moreover, the primordial spirit attack technique that the Heavens Expanse Holy Spirit taught him must be from the Heavens Expanse Temple. How could it be bad? Okay, the little golden girl agreed. She was a little surprised. This Tianyang actually agreed so easily? Even if she didn't know what the venomous worm king was before, now she knew how valuable the energy core of the venomous worm king was. How could he agree to give up such an existence so easily? However, the Heavens Expanse Holy Spirit didn't know what Tianyang was thinking. If he knew, he would jump out of Tianyang's body and give Tianyang a punch. Keep it well. The next moment, a huge torrent of information poured into Tianyang's mind. In Tianyang's eyes, there seemed to be countless streams of information flowing through, and a deep light flashed. The next moment, a terrifying and powerful force burst out from Tianyang's body. Understood. Tianyang curled the corners of his mouth. The way he looked at the medicine demon venomous worm, Saint also became extremely confident. Die. At this moment, the medicine demon venomous worm, Saint finally couldn't take it anymore. He roared and attacked Tianyang fiercely. At the same time, the venomous worm king, which was as huge as a city, also changed its direction and shot out poisonous light beams toward Tianyang. The news of the medicine demon venomous worm, Saint's appearance must have spread throughout the Eastern Divine Land. The medicine demon venomous worm, Saint was also very anxious now. Although he had woken up from the seal, he had not recovered the strength of a peak sage. If the people of the 10,000 Dan sacred sect arrived, then he, the medicine demon goose Saint, would be completely finished. He was racing against time to kill Tianyang at every moment. Ridiculous. Tianyang smiled slightly. The great void sword embryo in his hand suddenly burst out rays of dazzling sword light. Sword breaking 9 barons. The sword broke the attack in all directions. Damn it. Seeing that this move still couldn't do anything to Tianyang, the medicine demon venomous worm, Saint's face suddenly darkened. The next moment, Tianyang moved. Rays of primordial spirit power bloomed. It was as if every ray of primordial spirit power was an extremely sharp blade, ruthlessly stabbing into the medicine demon venomous worm, Saint's mind. What? The medicine demon venomous worm, Saint suddenly felt that his entire primordial spirit was pierced, and he was in a trance. At this moment, Tianyang disappeared again. The heavens expanse 9 changes was activated to the extreme. Oh no! The medicine demon venomous worm, Saint's face changed drastically. He forced himself to wake up and waved his finger, intending to let the venomous worm king spew out the deadly poisonous gas. 10,000 mammoth annihilation. With a slash of the sword, the medicine demon venomous worm, Saint's arms were directly broken. Damn bastard! The medicine demon venomous worm, Saint roared and attacked again. The true origin of the Sage Realm crazily burst out. However, the true origin of the Sage Realm was still unable to block Tianyang's 10,000 mammoth annihilation. This was the fusion of 5 Saint paths. The last slash, send you to hell. Tianyang smiled slightly and slashed with the sword. No! At this moment, the medicine demon venomous worm, Saint had completely recovered. However, it didn't help. His head had already been cut off by this slash of the sword. Suddenly, countless people revealed an expression of disbelief. 1 man and 1 sword killed the medicine god sect and killed the medicine god sect's patriarch. After that, he fought for a long time and took the head of the medicine demon venomous worm Saint, the nightmare of the Eastern Heaven Divine Land, more than 100,000 years ago. This kind of power was simply terrifying. When the news spread, it swept through the entire Eastern Heaven Divine Land like a storm. Tianyang's battle record of killing 2 saints and destroying the medicine god sect was complete. It terrified the Eastern Heaven Divine Land. Chapter 1220. Facing the terrifying power of the 10,000 annihilation, even an ordinary peak saint would be injured. As for the medicine demon goose Saint, although he was once a peak saint, he had been sealed for more than 100,000 years. Compared to Shintian Wuzuan, he was much more miserable. At least, the great Lord of Heaven would not punish him in order to maintain the state where the prisoners were providing him with energy. As for the medicine demon goose Saint, he was trying his best to kill the medicine demon goo Saint at every moment. As a result, the medicine demon goose Saint cultivation was only slightly stronger than the medicine god sect's patriarch. He was able to fight Tianyang for so long by relying on the means that he had used to dominate the mysterious sky great world and destroy half of the Eastern Divine Land. The 10,000 annihilation. The medicine demon Gu Saint would definitely die. Finally, He's dead. Tianyang looked at the medicine demon goose saint, whose eyes were still filled with disbelief and unwillingness, and heaved a sigh of relief. After killing a saint, he still had to fight another saint to the death. It was too difficult for a peak Wuzun. Fortunately, the holy grade martial spirit, the Sky Cloud sword, was powerful enough to maintain the half-saint state for more than 10 minutes. Otherwise, if there was even the slightest mistake, if there was a slight mistake, the one who fell to the ground and died was not the medicine demon goose saint, but Tianyang. The terrifying power of the 10,000 annihilation, the endless true core strength of the endless spirit sea, and most importantly, the help of the little golden girl. If any of these three were missing, Tianyang would definitely die. This time, luck was on Tianyang's side. Next time, he might not be so lucky. Should I do it myself, or you? Tianyang frowned as he looked at the Goo King, who had become completely retarded after the death of the medicine demon goose saint. It could only float in the sky by instinct instead of smashing down and flattening the entire medicine god sect's small world. You don't want to touch such an ugly thing. Not even once. Let me do it. This Goo King not only has a powerful energy core, but also contains a huge amount of energy when it grows to a certain level. These are all treasures. I used a godly piercing blade to trade with you. You're the one at a loss. The little golden girl giggled. Hearing this, Tianyang shrugged. The god-piercing saber was indeed a little stingy compared to the venomous insect king, which was extremely rare in all the realms. However, the most important thing about treasures was whether they were suitable or not. As for their value, that was not the first thing to consider. At the very least, the golden girl's godly piercing blade had saved Tianyang's life. That was enough. Then you do it. Tianyang nodded slightly. In the next moment, the heavens expanse temple in his body shone with a sharp golden light. It directly pierced through the Goo King's body. Strangely, the venomous worm king, who should have been fighting back madly, was now motionless like a corpse, allowing the golden light to tear him into pieces. The little golden girl had already started working. Tianyang could not be bothered to look at the venomous worm king as he floated down. His eyes were indifferent as he looked down at the ruins of the medicine god sect. Many of the medicine god sect's disciples had survived. Apart from the medicine god sect's sect master, the only half-saint was still alive. What do you want? Seeing Tianyang suddenly float in front of him, the half-saint's heart trembled. The medicine god sect could be considered to have been destroyed. There were only a few dozen disciples, an elder, and him, a half-saint left. Although such a force was not weak, compared to the medicine god sect's sect master who had recovered and was about to step into the realm of a saint and dominate the entire Eastern Divine Prefecture. It was like heaven and earth. It was like the difference between heaven and earth. But now Tianyang was still here. The medicine god sect has already been reduced to such a state because of you. What are you still doing here? Do you really want to destroy the medicine god sect? A disciple roared angrily, looking at Tianyang with eyes full of hatred. If it weren't for Tianyang, they would have been enjoying the treasures of the immortal level realm in the ruins and eating pills from the slaves of Dansinaville. If it weren't for Tianyang, they would have been disciples of a saint's sect and looked down on countless mortals. But because of Tianyang's appearance, their fantasies were all shattered. They couldn't even maintain their previous status. Shut up. Hearing this, the half-saint's expression changed, and he hurriedly roared. In his heart, he was also extremely disappointed. These disciples of the medicine god sect were used to being arrogant and domineering. They had no idea how cruel the world was. To put it bluntly, although there were a few dozen of them now, they were still a powerful force in the Eastern Divine Prefecture. But whether they lived or died depended on Tianyang's mood. You're quite right. The medicine god sect was more or less destroyed by me. Tianyang smiled and said. Hearing this, the half-saint was stunned. What did Tianyang mean by that? However, I don't know if you all remember what I said during the Myriad Pill Grand Ceremony. Tianyang smiled. Hearing this, the half-saint was stunned, and then his expression changed slightly. You said that you wanted to destroy the medicine god sect. Back then, everyone in the medicine god sect had thought that this was the arrogant words of a weakling. If it weren't for the sudden revival of the medicine god sect's ancestor and the expansion of the sect's ambition, they wouldn't have thought of the existence of this ant. But now, it was this ant who had slaughtered the behemoth that was the medicine god sect, turning it into a river of blood and ruins. You're right. Tianyang smiled and said, the annihilation here means total annihilation. In the next moment, the last bit of the half-saint's inner force bloomed from Tianyang's body. Massacre domain unleashed. No. Hearing this, the half-saint of the medicine god sect immediately roared. You can't do this. The medicine god sect has stood tall in the Eastern Divine Prefecture for tens of thousands of years and has long involved countless people. If you kill us, even Bantan Simeon won't let you go. We can go to the Central Divine Prefecture, to the Northern Wilderness Desert, or even to the Western Blessed Land and the Southern Devil Domain. If you kill us, there's no benefit at all. Moreover, it'll implicate the people behind you. The half-saint of the medicine god sect roared, but Tianyang's expression didn't change at all. Bantan Simeon? They might even be praying for me to kill their saint. Tianyang's expression was calm as he spoke. I've always been a man of my word. If I say I'll kill your entire family, I'll definitely kill your entire family. Tianyang's lips curled into a smile. In the next moment, the half-saint of the medicine god sect roared angrily, abandoned the medicine god sect disciples, and fled. However, Tianyang's sword was faster. Flying immortal sword. In an instant, a sword light illuminated thousands of miles. The sword pierced through the half-saint of the medicine god sect. The remaining medicine god sect members were all slain by the shockwaves as well. From then on, Chapter 12:21. The medicine god sect had been destroyed. The medicine demon Goose Saint had fallen. The two pieces of news were spread at different times, but they shocked the entire Eastern Sky Divine Land at the same time. For ordinary cultivators, the former was extremely shocking. The powerful sect that had stood in the Eastern Sky Divine Land for tens of thousands of years was likely to continue standing for tens of thousands of years. It had been destroyed not long after the Saint Patriarch had been revived. For those of the older generation who had experienced the great calamity of the Eastern Sky Divine Land hundreds of thousands of years ago, the latter piece of news was the most shocking and terrifying. The medicine demon Gu Saint is dead in the depths of Bantan Simeon. An ordinary-looking middle-aged man looked at the communication jade in his hand and slowly broke the silence. There was even a video that lasted less than 3 seconds on the communication jade. It was the video of the medicine demon Gu Saint's arms being cut off by Tianyang's 10,000 mammoth annihilation. This person looks familiar, said the middle-aged man. Hearing that, the half-step saint beside him also showed a hint of surprise. He does look familiar. I think we've seen him not long ago. Dragon Mountain, come and take a look. Me? Hearing that, Dragon Mountain Elder raised an eyebrow and looked over. Instantly, he showed an extremely shocked expression. This is, although it was very short, less than 3 seconds, neither Tianyang nor the medicine demon Gu Saint was blurry at all. In order to convince the immortal-level dance sign of Illman, Tianyang had changed into Yang Tian's appearance. Dragon Mountain Elder naturally recognized him at a glance. That person was the champion of the Myriad Pills ceremony 2 years ago. The Elixir Emperor, Yang Tian. Yang Tian. Dragon Mountain Elder blurted out. As soon as he opened his mouth, he realized that something was wrong. However, the surrounding higher-ups of Bantan Simeon all looked over. Wu Zun, who had used his aura to suppress Tianyang, suddenly looked up with an expression of disbelief. Yang Tian? That Yang Tian from the Myriad Pill ceremony? How could it be that Yang Tian? Wu Zun said in disbelief. However, the middle-aged man at the head of the table frowned slightly. He waved his hand, and the video on his communication jade that lasted less than 3 seconds was enlarged and displayed to everyone. Suddenly, countless people saw Tianyang's face and the medicine demon and the Gu Saint's arms being cut off cleanly with a sword. That's right, it is Yang Tian, the Dragon Mountain old man said excitedly. He never imagined that Yang Tian who had been suppressed by the medicine god sect back then and had needed the 10,000 Dan sacred sect to step in to make the medicine god sect temporarily give up, would actually be so powerful now. Although it had nothing to do with Yang Tian, the Dragon Mountain Elder still felt a sense of pride. However, the face of the peak martial highness beside him instantly turned pale. How is this possible? What was Tianyang's cultivation level 2 years ago? Wuzun stage 5 or Wuzun stage 6? He had no choice but to swallow his pride in front of Wuzun at his peak. 2 years later, Tianyang's strength had leaped to such a level that he could even kill a saint? From the myriad pill ceremony? The middle-aged man's eyes lit up when he heard that. Bantan Simeon had a long history, but they only had one saint now. Although they were not afraid of being attacked by experts as a faction of alchemy, befriending a saint-level cultivator was still a great benefit. Moreover, Tianyang was too young. If he had the combat strength of a saint at such a young age, wouldn't he have the potential to become a saint emperor in the future? Even if he didn't, just befriending Tianyang would be extremely beneficial. Immediately, countless Bantan Simeon executives smiled. If that was the case, Bantan Simeon would be able to obtain the friendship of a saint without much effort. This was a great deal. Tangru, are you crazy? However, an expert frowned and reprimanded Wu Zun at his peak when he saw him trembling with a pale face. As the champion of Bantan Simeon's myriad pill ceremony, Yang Tian's strength has improved greatly, and he has the combat strength of a saint. If you're not happy, why are you still sitting there trembling? The half-step saint expert said. However, as soon as he finished speaking, he realized that something was wrong. His expression suddenly darkened. You don't tell me you've offended Yang Tian before? Hearing that, Wu Zun at his peak trembled all over. Immediately, the entire meeting hall deep in Bantan Simeon fell silent for a moment. Ha! It's fine. It's just the friendship of a saint. Although Bantan Simeon needs it, it's not to that extent. At this moment, a peak half-step saint stepped forward to smooth things over. Compared to the champion of the myriad pill ceremony who is more like an outsider, it's better for Bantan Simeon to be one of our own. If we don't want to be friends with Yang Tian, then so be it. Boom! As soon as he finished speaking, a loud sound burst out from the communication jade of the middle-aged man at Bantan Simeon. In the sky, the image of Tianyang cutting off the arms of the medicine demon Gu Saint with his sword turned into a message. Yang Tian killed the medicine demon Gu Saint and eliminated all the people of the medicine god sect. As for the terrifying medicine god Gu King, Tianyang used a strange method to disintegrate and disappear. Yang Tian seems to be very dissatisfied with Bantan Simeon's behavior of not doing anything when they said they would protect him. Suddenly, the entire meeting hall fell silent. The few lines of words above had completely taken over their hearts. There were 10 half-step saints and more than 20 peak Wuzun present. None of them said a word. It was like dead silence. Let's go. At this moment, Patriarch of one Dan Holy Sect, the middle-aged man, spoke slowly. Then he stood up. Sect Master, are you going to... Seeing this, a half-step saint was puzzled. In the next moment, Patriarch of one Dan Holy Sect spoke. Prepare a gift and go to the Medicine God Sect. Apologize to Elixir Emperor Yang Tian. At this moment, Tianyang came to the depths of the Medicine God Sect, where the treasure vault that had been barely preserved after countless battles. In fact, nearly 60% of the treasure vault had been destroyed by the aftermath of the battle. More than half of it had been reduced to ruins. However, Tianyang didn't care. He just wanted to find a place to digest the harvest of this battle. The medicine demon Goose Saints is really tenacious. He would rather die than leave his remnant soul to me. Tianyang chuckled. When he killed the medicine demon Goose Saint before, he also wanted to capture the medicine demon Gu Saint's primordial spirit. The primordial spirit of a Gu king that could control the size of a city must be extraordinary. However, before Tianyang could make a move, the medicine demon Gu Saint, who knew that he was going to die, completely self-destructed. However, the primordial spirit of the medicine god sect's patriarch is not bad. Tianyang smiled slightly and sat down cross-legged, intending to refine it. Hey, another saint is here. At this moment, the little golden girl's voice sounded. Tianyang raised his eyebrows and waved his hand. Chapter 12:22. Lord Sect Master, is this guy just going to ignore you like this? One of the Banten Simeon experts said in disbelief as he looked at the medicine god sect's ruins that were surrounded by a powerful formation. If they didn't attack, it would be impossible for them to enter. Banten Simeon was the strongest alchemy faction in the Eastern Sky Divine Land. It was also the only holy land of alchemy. In the face of such an existence, any ordinary alchemist would be in fear and trepidation, afraid that they would arouse the other party's displeasure. However, Tianyang was different. He didn't even bother with them. He just let them stand aside and arouse their displeasure. We were in the wrong in this matter. It's normal that he doesn't treat us well. The patriarch of one Dan Holy Sect waved his hand and said. His deep gaze seemed to penetrate the formation and see Tianyang in the depths of the formation. In his eyes, there were also waves of emotions surging. Previously, he had heard the news of Tianyang killing the two saints through a trusted channel. However, if he hadn't seen it with his own eyes, even someone like the patriarch of one Dan Holy Sect wouldn't have dared to believe it immediately. After all, that piece of news was accompanied by Tianyang's strength. His cultivation was only at the peak of Wuzun. He had only stepped into the half-step saint realm by using some kind of secret technique. It was shocking enough for a half-step saint to kill a saint. However, Tianyang wasn't even a half-step saint. He was only at the peak of Wuzun. If the patriarch of one Dan Holy Sect was dissatisfied with this kind of talent, Tianyang would bear a grudge. Banten Simeon wouldn't be able to live in peace for the next few thousand years. Moreover, Banten Simeon wanted to recruit a genius like Tianyang. Naturally, they had to do enough to save face. The peak half-saint from Banten Simeon was clearly unable to accept this. In her opinion, Banten Simeon was so high and mighty that it dominated the whole Eastern Divine Land and even the alchemy circle in the eastern part of the Shantian macro world. Although Banten Simeon's martial strength was not as strong as its alchemy force, the other martial saint sects of the Eastern Sky Divine region did not dare to show any disrespect to Banten Simeon. After all, the development of some martial sage sects depended on the Banten Simeon. Even those martial saints had to be respectful to the patriarch of one Dan Holy Sect. No matter how strong Tianyang was, he was only at the peak of Wuzun. Why did they have to be so respectful? However, under the orders of the patriarch of one Dan Holy Sect, the peak half-saint did not dare to continue speaking. However, deep in his heart, he was very dissatisfied with Tianyang for not showing any respect to the patriarch of one Dan Holy Sect. As for the Dragon Mountain Elder, he was filled with emotion as he looked at the ruins of the Medicine God Sect. The death of the Medicine God Sect's patriarch had not caused much damage to the Medicine God Sect's small world. However, the Medicine Demon Gu Saint had made a move and turned a huge alchemy force into a land of death filled with poisonous gas. If it weren't for their strength, just the poisonous gas left behind by the Gu King would have been enough to make them suffer. The Medicine God Sect's inheritance is really unconventional. It's very different from the orthodox alchemy inheritance of the Banten Simeon. Within the formation, Tianyang slowly opened his eyes. He devoured the fragments of the Medicine God Sect's patriarch's primordial spirit. While strengthening his primordial spirit, he'd also absorbed all of the Medicine God Sect's inheritances in the patriarch's mind. Most of them were useless to Tianyang, but the remaining pill recipes, alchemy techniques, and various other alchemy techniques were extremely valuable. It wouldn't be an exaggeration to say that this portion of the Medicine God Sect's patriarch's memories would be more than enough to establish another Medicine God Sect if given the right opportunity and time. Something else has been added to the myriad pill tome. Tianyang chuckled. His greatest gain from this trip wasn't just devouring the fragments of the Medicine God Sect's patriarch's primordial spirit. He'd also obtained countless alchemy inheritances and the God-piercing saber technique. However, the Medicine God Sect's level was still too low. Apart from the most basic things like the Reiki, they didn't have any treasures. As for the medicine demon Goose Saint, he'd been sealed for more than 100,000 years. Stop sighing. You and the patriarch of one Dan Holy Sect and the group of peak half-Saint Wuzun have been waiting for almost a day and night. Aren't you going to go out and take a look? The little golden girl snapped. She just turned the Goo King's corpse into energy. It would take some time for it to become part of the Heaven's Expanse Temple's energy source. Seeing that Tianyang had already dealt with it, she was naturally displeased. Oh right, there's still the Bantan Simian people. With the little golden girl's reminder, Tianyang suddenly remembered that there was still a group of Bantan Simian people waiting outside the formation. Then he slowly stood up and waved his hand. Then the formation automatically closed. Bantan Simian's group finally saw the Medicine God Sect's treasury under the cover of the formation. How tragic, the Dragon Mountain Elder said in disbelief. In the past, he'd been to the Medicine God Sect once. At that time, the Medicine God Sect's treasury was not much worse than the one in Bantan Simian. Now, almost 60% of the entire treasury had been destroyed. As for the treasures inside, they'd all disappeared. The Dragon Mountain Elder was focused on the Medicine God Sect's treasury, while the rest of the Bantan Simian people were focused on Tianyang. Is this the Yang Tian who killed 2 saints, the Pill Emperor Yang? He doesn't look like much. After being ignored for an entire day and night, the peak half-saint of Bantan Simian, who'd been displeased with Tianyang for a long time, finally spoke up in a sarcastic tone. Whether she was in Bantan Simian or outside of Bantan Simian, she was always a person above others. She lived like a princess, and it was always others who waited for her. When had she ever waited for others? Seeing Tianyang's ordinary appearance, the displeasure in her heart exploded. Half-saintly, don't speak nonsense. The 10,000 Pill Sacred Sect's sect master said with a frown. This was an expert who could kill the Medicine God Sect's patriarch and the Medicine Demon Goose Saint. How could he be judged by his appearance? The Medicine God Sect's patriarch and patriarch of one Dan Holy Sect might be able to deal with him, but the Medicine Demon Goose Saint was an existence that even the current Bantan Simian could only suppress over 100,000 years ago. Even if he escaped and lost a lot of strength, he wasn't someone a peak half-saint could judge. Han, half-saintly sneered when he heard that. A mocking expression appeared on his face. Killed 2 saints? With the cultivation of peak Wuzun? How is that possible? Most likely, when the Medicine God Sect's patriarch and the Medicine Demon Goose Saint were both injured, he stepped in to pick up the loot. As long as the sect master gives me a few strands of saint power, I can do it too. Half-saintly said disdainfully. Hearing this, the other experts of Bantan Simian nodded as well. In their eyes, it was impossible for a peak Wuzun to kill a saint. The patriarch of one Dan Holy Sect was about to speak, but in the next moment, slap. Chapter 1223. Slap. A crisp sound rang out from Half-Saint Lee's face. The next moment, a chuckle rang out. Patriarch of one Dan Holy Sect, if you don't know how to discipline your subordinates, I don't mind helping you. Tianyang chuckled. Then, he withdrew his hand at lightning speed and shook it in disgust, as if he had slapped something filthy. An old woman dares to grumble in front of the saint. Hearing this, the ruins of the Medicine God Sect fell silent for a moment. Even the people from the 10,000 Dan Sacred Sect were silent. They were all flabbergasted as they looked at the scene in front of them in disbelief. What was going on? He, a peak half-saint from Bantan Simian, had been slapped? Directly slapped in the face. You bastard. As the person involved, Half-Saintly was the first to react. He roared, raised his sleeves, and slapped Tianyang. You lowly bastard. How dare you hit me? How dare you hit me? Half-Saintly let out a furious roar. A clear red handprint could be seen on his aged face. A frightening gust of wind erupted from the palm. The true yuan of a peak half-step saint had been completely released. The next moment, the slap was aimed at Tianyang. Why are there so many retards in this world? Tianyang sighed and casually waved his hand. A powerful force was released from Tianyang's hand and collided with Half-Saint Lee's palm. Peak Wuzun dares to compete with a peak half-saint. Seeing Tianyang's casual slap, Half-Saint Lee's lips curled into a disdainful sneer. Peak Wuzun was still Peak Wuzun. He was arrogant and had no idea how strong a peak half-saint was. How dare he claim to have killed a half-saint in the battle of the two sages with his sword? How dare he claim to have killed the two sages? Now, she was going to expose this liar's true colors. Then, they would bring him back to the Banten Simyun and torture him. Stop! At this moment, the patriarch of one Dan holy sect shouted in horror. However, it was too late. Boom! A loud explosion instantly erupted. However, Tianyang's figure naturally did not move at all. On the other hand, Half-Saint Li was sent flying over 10 li away by the slap. He smashed into a sharp-edged mountain peak, spitting out a mouthful of blood before stopping. Even so, his body continued to tremble as his internal organs continued to vibrate. It was obvious that he had suffered a serious injury. Seeing this, the faces of those who had questioned Heavenly Sun instantly turned pale. Their gazes were fixed on Half-Saint Li. He seemed to be trying to find any signs of acting. However, there was none at all. A layer of Half-Saint Li's robe was torn, leaving only a supreme-grade spiritual artifact robe. His insides were seriously injured. Even if he was acting, he could not have acted so well. The slightest mistake would have killed Half-Saint Li. Moreover, Tianyang could not have contacted the people of the Banten Simyun. Elixir Emperor Yang, this is too much. At that moment, the 10,000 Pills Sacred Sex sect master spoke. His originally apologetic smile also sank. It did not matter if Tianyang had killed two saints and had the battle strength of a saint. However, the patriarch of one Dan holy sect, was present. Tianyang did not give any face and sent Half-Saint Li flying. Too much. Hearing this, Tianyang raised his eyebrows and a faint smile appeared on his face. She should thank me properly for slapping her. Hearing this, the crowd was confused. Why would she thank him for slapping her? What kind of logic was that? In the next moment, someone revealed a look of horror. Could it be that there's some powerful poison in the ruins of the Medicine God sect? Did they not see that Tianyang was still standing in the formation? As for them, they had already stood outside the formation for an entire day and night. If there really was some kind of terrifying poison, then they would have all been infected. The patriarch of one Dan holy sect's expression changed completely. There was poison in the ruins of the Medicine God sect that even he, a true saint-grade alchemist, could not detect. If that was the case, then the Medicine Demon Goose Saint, who had brought disaster to the Eastern Sky Divine region more than 100,000 years ago, was truly terrifying. Hearing this, Tianyang raised an eyebrow in surprise. What poison? I gave her this slap to vent my anger. Otherwise, if she continues to talk bad, I might have killed her. Do you think she should thank me? Tianyang smiled. Hearing this, Banten Simyun and the others fell silent. The little golden girl was also silently cursing in Tianyang's mind. You're so arrogant. You're even inventing something new. Tianyang's expression did not change. He was still smiling as he looked at Banten Simyun and the others. You! Immediately, the other male peak half-saint was enraged by Tianyang. He roared and charged at Tianyang. If you don't want to end up like that foul-mouthed peak half-saint, you'd better stop. Seeing this, Tianyang said indifferently. Immediately, the male peak half-saint who had rushed out froze. Then, he showed an unwilling expression and retreated. Tianyang was indeed arrogant, but the strength he had displayed was also extremely powerful. With one slap, he had sent a peak half-saint like Half-Saint Li flying. He had even shattered the outer layer of his supreme-grade spiritual artifact. This kind of strength was not much weaker than that of an ordinary saint. Moreover, who said that this was Tianyang's full strength? All right, all of you stop. We're here to apologize, not to cause trouble. Jiangwu, go find Half-Saint Li and treat him. The patriarch of one Dan holy sect finally spoke. His tone was emotionless. Hearing this, the male peak half-saint who was about to attack was stunned. Then, he nodded and glared at Tianyang. Then, he flew in Half-Saint Li's direction. Half-Saint Li's injuries were not light. If he was not treated in time, his future cultivation would be affected. You should leave too. You don't have to apologize. If you want to apologize, I know what you want to apologize for. Tianyong said indifferently. Banten Simeon had a good plan. They did not do anything before and only offered a symbolic apology. Did they expect to gain the friendship of a saint? How naive. But Tianyong did not buy it. By the way, if anything happens to the force behind me, I hope that Banten Simeon's shadow is not involved, not even a little bit. Tianyong said indifferently. In my opinion, Medicine God sect with Medicine Demon and Gu Saint is not much weaker than Banten Simeon. All right, have a safe trip. Hearing this, Banten Simeon's group turned pale. However, the patriarch of one Dan Holy Sect could only wave his hand. All right, we'll do as Elixir King Yang says. In the future, we'll fulfill our responsibility as the champion of the Myriad Pills ceremony and protect the immortal level cultivators. Then, Elixir King Yang will take our leave. Chapter 1224. Sectmaster, Yang Tian has gone too far. Are we just going to leave like this? In the sky above the eastern sky divine land, Banten Simeon's group stayed in the ruins of the Medicine God sect for a day and a night. In the end, they left after swallowing a cloud of air. The peak half-saint named Jiangwu also spoke angrily. It was half-saint Li's fault for speaking rudely to a saint, who is at least a saint. He deserves to be taught a lesson. The patriarch of one Dan Holy Sect flew at the front and spoke indifferently. Half-saint Li, who had just taken a few pills and recovered from his injuries, immediately became gloomy. He was a peak half-saint of Banten Simeon. How could he be beaten to such a state by a peak half-saint like Wu Zun? The sectmaster was condemning him? It was clearly that ant's fault. What ability did a rootless and bottomless ant have to fight against her 10,000 Dan sacred sect? Wrong, it's our fault. We still have to protect his faction. However, Banten Simeon's people can't be humiliated so easily. A cold light flashed in the eyes of the patriarch of one Dan Holy Sect. We can give him face, but we can't take revenge. However, there are many people who can help us take revenge. That's right, the patriarch of one Dan Holy Sect also wanted to make a move on Tianyong. Who? Now, Yang Tian even dares to kill saints. He can even kill them. Jiangwu was puzzled. The patriarch of one Dan Holy Sect sneered. I have my own plans. Then he said no more. The group of Banten Simeon behind him didn't understand, but they also sneered in their hearts. Tianyong was just an ant. How dare he compete with the colossus of Banten Simeon, who had existed for countless years? The patriarch of one Dan Holy Sect was dissatisfied. Soon, news of Yang Tian's death would arrive. At this moment, Tianyong had already left the ruins of the Medicine God sect and was rushing towards the West Spirit State. When he had first returned to the Shintian macro world, he had not done something as boring as destroying the Medicine God sect. If the Medicine God sect had not attacked him in Dansinaville, Tianyong would not have cared. Now that it was settled, Tianyong naturally returned to his original goal. Find Lin Yuhan. After the battle with the Great Lord of Heaven, Tianyong's boundless Dao cultivation base had also increased significantly. He was not too far away from the fifth transformation of the boundless 9 transformations. Therefore, once he unleashed his full speed, it only took him slightly more than a day to reach Flowing Sky City of the West Spirit Continent from the Eastern Sky Divine region. The Medicine God sect's attack hadn't reached a place as far as the spiritual state, so Lutian City wasn't damaged at all. On the contrary, because of Kaingshan, the Red Dragon tribe had taken great care of Lutian City. It was much more prosperous than before. Tianyong looked at the bustling crowd below and smiled. In a flash, he arrived at the Hong family. Back then, he had asked the Hong family to help him search for news of Ling Yuhan. Now that a few months had passed, even if they couldn't find her completely, they should at least have some information. The Hong family was no longer the same as before. In the past, the Hong family had been mostly destroyed due to various wars. Now, not only had it been rebuilt, but it was even larger than before. Tianyong was very familiar with the Hong family. Soon, he arrived at the meeting hall of the Hong family without alerting anyone. Coincidentally, there were a few familiar faces in the meeting hall. I've said before that Lord Tianyong can't fight against a colossus like the Snow Sky Fox clan. If Lord Tianyong knows about it, wouldn't Lord Tianyong be sent to his death? But Big Brother Tianyong was very serious when he gave us the order. If we don't tell him after knowing about it, wouldn't he be very sad? Hong Xiaochun, you're still too young. You have the strength, but you're still immature. Just listen carefully, don't interrupt. So thud thud. Suddenly, there were 2 knocks on the door. The people who were quarreling inside quieted down. One by one, they turned to look at the door. Who is it? Today is the day to discuss important matters. Who dares to disturb us? At the head of the table, Hong Song's face immediately darkened. Why, after the calamity, was there still such an immature disciple in the Hong family? Hong Xiaochun, who was listening at the side, seemed to have noticed something. He raised his eyebrows and was about to speak. A figure pushed the door open and walked in. We'll let you in. Can't you see that we're... An elder of the Hong family reprimanded. However, before he could finish, he saw the appearance of the person who came in. The words that he just said were stuck in his throat, and he could not continue. Tian, Sir Tianyong. Big Brother Tianyong. It's really you. At this moment, Hong Song and Hong Xiaochun spoke at the same time. Hong Song's face was full of shock, while Hong Xiaochun pounced on Tianyong. Tianyong caught Hong Xiaochun easily and rubbed his head. Then, he looked at the group of elders of the Hong family and chuckled. Just now, I seem to have heard something outside. What are you hiding from me? Suddenly, the entire meeting hall was extremely awkward. Grandfather and the others found news of Miss Ling, but because of the Snow Fox clan, they refused to tell Big Brother Tianyong. Hong Xiaochun said. Hearing that, Tianyong's face darkened. Oh, a sharp light suddenly burst out from his eyes. Suddenly, the entire meeting hall was dismembered by an extremely sharp aura. The pillars, beams, and doors were all slightly slanted, but they did not fall down. Seeing this, the countless elders in the Hong clan's discussion hall all revealed extremely terrified expressions. This power, perhaps it was not strong, but the precision of his control was unbelievable. What frightened them the most was that Tianyong's body was vaguely releasing a murderous intent. Real murderous intent. If they did not explain themselves, Tianyong would really kill them. Sir Tianyong, wait a moment. Seeing that, Hong Song panicked. He had seen Tianyong's power with his own eyes, and he also knew how terrifying Tianyong's performance was in the true dragon sacred territory. To put it bluntly, the Hong family was a real and in front of such an existence. Tianyong could destroy countless Hong families with a single thought. It's the Snow Fox clan. We found out that Miss Ling Yuhan is in the Snow Fox clan. Hong Song did not care about what he had said before and hurriedly said, Oh! Hearing that, Tianyong raised his eyebrows, and his murderous intent dissipated slightly. The elders of the Hong family heaved a sigh of relief. Finally, they could breathe again. Because the Snow Sky Fox clan is too powerful, we were wondering whether or not we should tell you. But now that you're here, the Hong family will naturally tell you everything. Hong Song tried to salvage the situation. Hearing that, Tianyong recalled what he had heard outside the door, and his murderous intent dissipated. Then, he walked to the head of the table and sat down in a dignified manner. Chapter 1225. Explain. Tianyong said indifferently. Hearing this, Hong Song shuddered and hurriedly explained. The Snow Sky Fox clan is a huge demon clan that lives in the northern spiritual state. Moreover, they are also related to the Fox tribe in the northern wilderness desert. Their forces are not much weaker than the true dragon sacred world. They have 4 peak saints, but no great saints. According to the information that we've obtained, over a year ago, it was the Snow Sky Fox clan that found Lady Ling Yuhan and brought her back. Recently, there was a piece of news from the Snow Fox clan. We were able to confirm that Lady Ling Yuhan was indeed taken away by the Snow Fox clan. Hong Song said. Hearing this, Tianyong's expression turned slightly cold. For pinnacle saints? Tianyong had already mastered the 6 sacred paths. If he fully unleashed the sky-devouring secret skill, he might be able to fight a saint at the pinnacle. However, even Tianyang had to avoid facing four saints at the pinnacle. What news? Although he was constantly calculating in his heart, Tianyang did not leave Hong Tsang hanging and continued to ask. At this time, Hong Tsang hesitated. He looked at Tianyang, whose expression had changed slightly, and hesitated. He didn't know if he should speak. Lady, Ling Yuhan is about to marry the young master of the Snow Sky Fox clan. Boom! At that instant, a terrifying, murderous intent burst out from the heavenly sun. At that instant, the entire Hong clan turned into a mountain of corpses and a sea of blood. The slaughter domain was unleashed like never before. Even when facing the medicine god Gates, old ancestor, and medicine demon Gu Saint, he had never unleashed such terrifying power. Tianyang's chair, along with the entire meeting hall, was silently reduced to dust. Around Tianyang, waves of terrifying sword chi were released. The slaughter domain crazily expanded. Not only did it cover the Hong family, it even covered the entire Flowing Sky City. City Lord's Mansion. The City Lord of the Flowing Sky City, who had achieved a breakthrough in his cultivation, was shocked. He quickly stood up and scanned his surroundings. The surroundings had turned into a sea of blood. Although the city governor knew that this was an illusion, he was still affected by it, and his body started to tremble violently. As for the other citizens of Flowing Sky City, they instantly lost all their strength. If not for Tianyang's last shred of rationality, he would have died at this moment. The entire Flowing Sky City would become a dead city. Calm down. At this moment, a loud roar resounded from the depths of Tianyang's soul sea. A trace of clarity flashed across Tianyang's eyes. The little golden girl made her move. Phew! Tianyang heaved a sigh of relief and slowly stood up. With a thought, he withdrew the slaughter domain that had spread out outside the Flowing Sky City. With a wave of his right hand, the long table and wooden chairs that had turned into powder, as well as the Hong clan's meeting hall that had been destroyed in an instant, were restored to their original state. As for the citizens of Flowing Sky City, they slowly recovered from the numbness. Apart from some mental impact, they were fine. However, the members of the Hong clan in the meeting hall were not so comfortable. They were less than 10 meters away from Tianyang. It could be said that they had suffered 100% of the power released by Tianyang's slaughter domain in his rage. Some of the weaker ones were still in a daze from the terrifying power of the slaughter domain. As for the stronger ones, they looked exhausted as if they had gone through a terrifying battle. Seeing this, Tianyang frowned and snapped his fingers. Instantly, the elders of the Hong clan all came to their senses. Their eyes were filled with fear as they looked at Tianyang. Just now, it was just a moment. They felt that their primordial spirits were about to be torn apart by Tianyang's slaughter domain. Shattered. They only realized it now. How strong was Sir Tianyang, who had been respectfully addressed by the ancestor and the head of the Hong clan, and even worried about his safety. Sir Tianyang. Hong Tsang was one of the only 2 members of the Hong clan who could speak in the meeting hall. He hurriedly spoke. The news is as such. According to the date, it will be 1 month later. 1 month. Although Tianyang had regained consciousness, his face was still terrifyingly gloomy. 1 month's time. Unless he gave up on the 3 Yuan Saint path and directly broke through to the Saint realm. Using the 7 Saint paths to become a saint, it was almost impossible for him to defeat the 4 saints of the Snow Sky Fox clan. You're crazy. With your talent, taking the 3 Yuan Saint path and stepping into the Holy Emperor realm is a sure thing. It's even possible for you to step into the Holy Emperor realm. If you give up now, you won't have another chance. The little golden girl shouted in Tianyang's mind. However, Tianyang's expression did not change. If there's really no chance, then I'll cut it off. Becoming a saint at the 3rd level is nothing compared to her. So what if I give up my future for her? Tianyang said calmly. His tone was not strong. However, the determination in his words was something that even the vast expanse saint spirit could not find any reason to persuade him. For Ling Yuhan, Tianyang could really give up everything. However, We're not at the end of the road yet. There's no need to make a decision immediately. The vast expanse, Saint's spirit said. Tianyang nodded slightly, but his face was still gloomy. Yang Tian, get out here. At this moment, a loud roar suddenly rang through the entire flowing sky city. Tianyang also raised his head. In a flash, he was outside the meeting hall of the Hong clan. This flowing sky city is said to be one of the biggest cities in the West Spirit State, but it doesn't look like much. Not counting the city lord's cultivation, the people in the city all look weak. They look extremely weak. A figure stood on top of flowing sky city and looked down at the city coldly. Due to the sudden outburst of Tianyang's massacre territory, although the people were at least in the spiritual sea realm, they could not fully recover their energy. Then, the young man noticed Tianyang, who had suddenly appeared in the sky. You are the Yang Tian who the patriarch of one Dan Holy Sect mentioned, the one who used the name of the Void Mountain to swindle people. The young man scanned Tianyang from head to toe, revealing a trace of disdain. You're also a sword cultivator? Hearing this, Tianyang's expression did not change. Deep in his eyes, there was anger flowing slowly. You don't understand swords. You don't understand what swords are at all. Swords are the king of weapons, the ruler of killing. Sword cultivators can level the world with their swords. How can you be like this, showing your emotions on your face? You are just a swordsman, the young man from the Void Mountain said coldly with an arrogant tone, as if he was above the 9 heavens. You don't understand swords. Chapter 12:26. You don't understand swords. You don't deserve to use swords. The voice of the young man was arrogant and domineering. It was as if he was the king of the 9 heavens. The young man looked down at Tianyang as if he was looking at a lowly ant. Although a sword is just a weapon, it's a disgrace to the name of a sword when it's in the hands of a swindler who uses the name of the Void Mountain. I can't be bothered to use my sword against you. You don't deserve to use my sword either. He Yiming, will give you a chance to kill yourself. The young man, He Yiming, said coldly. It was as if letting Tianyang kill himself was a great kindness. As for Tianyang, the coldness on his face gradually dissipated. He suddenly felt that there was no need to put on such an expression when dealing with this young man. Are you done with your nonsense? Tianyang said indifferently. The great void, sword embryo, slowly appeared in his hand. How dare you? Upon hearing this, He Yiming's face darkened. He looked at Tianyang with his blue eyes. Who allowed you to speak to me? Ant, you still dare to use your sword in front of me? He Yiming said. His voice was as loud as a bell, causing the surrounding space to tremble. He Yiming's body also unconsciously became transparent. It was as if he was in harmony with the great Tao of heaven and earth. Your sword seems to be not bad. It's a pity that it's in your hands. It's a complete disgrace to its dignity as a sword. Killing yourself after killing yourself is the way a true swordsman should do. This is the only value in your life. A domineering voice came from He Yiming's throat. The surrounding space seemed to be responding to He Yiming's words and fluctuated continuously. Below, countless people walked out of their houses and looked at the young man in the sky with fear on their faces. They didn't know where He Yiming came from, but they could feel that the space was fluctuating wildly because of He Yiming's words. His words and actions could cause heaven and earth to tremble. What kind of person was this? The city lord of Flowing Sky City also rushed out immediately. When he saw Tianyang's familiar face, he was about to speak when he noticed the person above Tianyang. That is... The city lord of Flowing Sky City stared at He Yiming in disbelief. He Yiming had received news that one of the Void Mountain's walkers had arrived near Flowing Sky City and asked the city lord to be careful. At the same time, he had given him some information. He Yiming, he was one of the Void Mountain's walkers. Tianyang, when did he offend the Void Mountain? The city tease this. The city governor of Flowing Sky City immediately opened his mouth to speak. However, his next words forcefully interrupted him. Tianyang said coldly. There was no emotion in his eyes, as if he was a piece of 10,000 years dark ice. An ant! How dare you talk to me? Hearing this, He Yiming's face instantly darkened. In the next instant, Tianyong moved. He slashed with his sword. In an instant, without any preparation or accumulation of power, the 5 holy Daos fused together and slashed out with the 10,000 mammoths' annihilation. A terrifying sword radiance exploded the space and charged toward He Yiming. Ti's resistance. He Yiming smiled disdainfully. He didn't even bother to block it. Is this all the people hired by the patriarch of one Dan holy sect have? Banten Simeons seems to have gone downhill over the years. He Yiming didn't even move when he saw the elephant's annihilation charging toward him. He only activated his true origin shield. In the next instant, boom, the true origin shield shattered instantly. It was blasted into pieces by the shockwave of the elephant's annihilation. 'Tis not bad, but it's just an attack that can't even break through my physical defense. If you don't know anything about swords, how can your sword techniques be strong? He Yiming shook his head and sighed. Why are there so many swordsmen in this world? Double quotes. Swords should have been. Boom! There was another loud sound. He Yiming's following words were completely cut off, 'cause he couldn't speak anymore. The reason for that was because his entire head had been sliced off by the sword. 3 centimeters above his shoulder formed a smooth and neat cut. He Yiming's head was sent flying. 'Tis too much nonsense, Tianyong said indifferently. He didn't even look at He Yiming as he kept the great void sword embryo. Ah, my head. He Yiming's expression changed drastically as he screamed crazily. 'Cause his head was cut off, 'cause his body was still in the air, spitting out blood. And I'll give you one last chance. Kneel on the ground immediately and bring my head back. Otherwise, you and all the forces behind you will die. He Yiming roared crazily. He could even feel that his life force was rapidly disappearing. However, Tianyong was indifferent. He turned around and walked towards the Hong family's meeting hall. No, no, that guy's watching from the side. Come and save me. Double quotes. Aunt, I'll give you face. Save me now. I'll definitely repay you after this. 10,000 mammoth annihilation was not just a simple sword technique. Cause He Yiming's head was not the end. Cause of Annihilation's power would continue to destroy He Yiming's primordial spirit. Cause He Yiming's primordial spirit, which would survive for hundreds of years, even if his head was cut off, was already mostly destroyed in this short moment. No, you can't kill me. Cause of Void Mountains. Cause of Annihilation's destruction of the primordial spirit far exceeded everyone's imagination. The city governor of Flowing Sky City, who had just regained his senses, wanted to help. Unfortunately, it was too late. He Yiming's essence spirit was already utterly destroyed by the power of extermination. Even a sage emperor would not be able to save him. It was only now that Tianyong uttered his 3rd sentence since He Yiming appeared. As soon as he finished speaking, He Yiming's head had lost all signs of life and fell to the ground, blood flowing out continuously. The elders of the Hong family who heard the news were all dumbfounded. In that case, as for Tianyong, he walked past the elders of the Hong family and calmly returned to his seat. His face darkened once more. Continue about the Snow Sky Fox clan. Only then did Tianyong unleash his murderous aura. Chapter 1227. Tianyong returned to the meeting hall of the Hong family and continued to understand the situation of the Snow Sky Fox tribe. Outside, the Flowing Sky City mayor's heart almost jumped out of his chest when he saw He Yiming's lifeless body. Everything happened too quickly. Tianyong had only spoken 3 sentences and wielded a sword. However, he had killed He Yiming with just 1 sword. He Yiming, a peak sage-to-be who had mastered 2 holy paths and was close to mastering 3 holy paths, had been killed by a single sword strike. The Flowing Sky City mayor was not the only one who could not react in time. Even the people from a Void Mountain would suspect that they were drunk if they saw this. The Void Mountain was the overlord of the Xiantian Great World. They had several supreme sages and possibly even a holy emperor. As an outsider of the Void Mountain, He Yiming was treated like a prince no matter where he went in the spiritual state. Occasionally, he would kill someone. Unless it was an important person, Who would dare to stop him? This time, the Flowing Sky City mayor was ready to go all out and stop He Yiming before he attacked. However, He Yiming did not stop him, and Tianyong did not stop him either. No, I have to look for Sir Tianyong immediately. The great Void Mountain Wanderer had died in Flowing Sky City. If news of this got out, it would definitely bring disaster to Flowing Sky City. The Flowing Sky City mayor's expression changed. In the next moment, he stepped into the Hong family and walked towards the meeting hall. So, you don't know much about the Snow Sky Fox tribe? When he heard this, Tianyong frowned. Know yourself and know your enemy, and you will be victorious in every battle. Although he already knew the general strength of the Snow Sky Fox clan, if he wanted to truly take Ling Yuhan away from the hands of the Snow Sky Fox clan, he needed more information. The Snow Sky Fox tribe was not only born in the faraway northern spiritual state, but they are also a hidden force in the northern spiritual state. Our Hong family has almost no contact with the northern spiritual state. We only started to learn about the Snow Sky Fox tribe after we found out about them. This information is already the best we can do. Hong Tsang sighed and said. When he heard this, Tianyong nodded slightly, although he was still furious. He was not stupid enough to vent his anger on Hong Tsang and the rest. May I ask if Sir Tianyong is in? At this moment, there were 2 knocks on the door. Hearing this, Tianyong raised an eyebrow, while Hong Tsang immediately reacted. It's the governor of Flowing Sky City. In the next moment, he opened the door and let the mayor walk in. Looks like you've improved. Tianyong swept a glance over the newcomer and said indifferently, the Lord's cultivation level. But the bloodline. The Tianyong's bloodline, the last time a fight was the last time. He was the last time the city was. It's because of Lord Tianyong. I have to thank Lord Tianyong for this. Hearing this, the city lord of Flowing Sky City immediately smiled respectfully. The reason why he could improve the bloodline's purity was because the Red Dragon Crown Prince, Chi Ing Tian, often came to Flowing Sky City to play. In Flowing Sky City, the Lord was the only powerful dragon tribe bloodline. Who was Chi Ing Tian? The Red Dragon Crown Prince could casually throw out something, and the Lord of Flowing Sky City would gain a lot. The Lord of Flowing Sky City did not forget how his bloodline's purity came about. He was very respectful to Tianyong. Why is the Lord of Flowing Sky City here? Hong Tsang asked curiously. Although the Hong family and the Flowing Sky City City Lord Mansion had some interactions, nothing major had happened recently. Why was the Lord of Flowing Sky City here? I heard that Sir Tianyong was here, so I came to visit. The Lord of Flowing Sky City said respectfully. Tianyong did not even raise his eyebrows. Let's skip the formalities. I saw that you were watching the battle for a long time. You must have some information to tell me. The Lord of Flowing Sky City was shocked when he heard this. Then, he remembered Tianyong's identity and understood. That's right. The Lord of Flowing Sky City nodded and glanced at the crowd. However, this information, Hong Xiaochun, leave with the other elders. Hong Tsang was a discerning person. Seeing that the Lord of Flowing Sky City's expression was not right, he immediately said, Not even me? The Hong family head was confused. In the next moment, he was pushed out by Hong Xiaochun. Whatever grandfather says. All right, hurry up and leave. Hong Xiaochun smiled and took the Hong family head away by force. The remaining elders of the Hong family also left. In the end, only Tianyong, Hong Tsang, and the Lord of Flowing Sky City were left in the meeting hall. Sir Tianyong, do you know the identity of the person you just killed? The Lord of Flowing Sky City probed. If Tianyong knew, there was no need for him to say anything. I think I heard it, but I didn't care. All he said was nonsense. I couldn't be bothered to listen. Tianyong picked his ear and said casually. Hearing this, the Lord of Flowing Sky City and Hong Tsang couldn't help sweating. This way of handling things was really domineering. He didn't even listen and just killed the other party when he saw that they were asking for it. He was indeed the invincible existence of the Dragon Gods Guild who had destroyed the entire True Dragon sacred domain. Then, to be honest, He Yiming is actually an outsider of the Void Mountain. The Lord of Flowing Sky City took a deep breath and said with a solemn expression. Hearing this, Tianyang's expression did not change, but Hong Tsang's expression changed completely. An outsider of the Void Mountain? Why would such an existence appear in Flowing Sky City? From what he said, it was as if the outsider of the Void Mountain was a terrifying existence. Void Mountain? Hearing this slightly familiar name, Tianyang frowned. Then he remembered what kind of power the Void Mountain was. Back in Zhongbei City, when he had forced the palace master to retreat, he had used the tiger skin of the Void Mountain. However, he had never used it again, so Tianyang had forgotten about it. Now, it seemed that he had killed the person under the tiger skin. The Void Mountain is one of the strongest forces in the Xiantian Great World. Legend has it that there is a terrifying existence of the Holy Emperor realm. The Lord of Flowing Sky City sighed and said when he saw that Tianyang didn't know much. Hearing this, Tianyang's expression changed, and he suddenly remembered. Didn't they say that the outsider of the Void Mountain is very strong? Why is he so weak? He killed him with one strike. Tianyang said. Hearing this, the Lord of Flowing Sky City's face fell. He was a half-saint at the peak of the dual holy path and close to the three holy paths. How could such an existence be called weak? Although Yiming had been beheaded by Tianyang before he could unleash the power of a half-saint at the peak of the dual holy path, he was still the outsider of the Void Mountain. That's because you're too strong. However, you killed the outsider of the Void Mountain. The Void Mountain will definitely not let this matter rest. Moreover, this time, the Void Mountain has sent many outsiders to the Xiantian Great World. Among them, Yiming is only average. The most powerful person, the outsider, seems to have reached the saint realm. The Lord of Flowing Sky City said solemnly. Hearing this, Tianyang raised his eyebrows. The saint realm? It seemed that he had unknowingly provoked another strong enemy. However, Tianyang's lips curled up. So be it if he had a strong enemy. Since he was walking the path of becoming a saint at the three elemental levels, he naturally had to go through hardships. The Void Mountain was one of them. However, Lord Tianyang, why have you come this time? Perhaps I can be of help. The Lord of Flowing Sky City sighed and asked when he saw that Tianyang didn't seem to care. Hearing this, Hong Tsang explained. The Lord of Flowing Sky City pondered for a while and then said, You're here. Chapter 1228. True Dragon's Sacred Domain. Tianyang was taken aback. Then, a hint of interest appeared on his face. He had no foundation in the West Spirit State, so he couldn't fight against the Snow Sky Fox clan who had 4 peak saints. However, it would be different if he could use treasures in exchange for the True Dragon Sacred Domain's help. Not only did the True Dragon Sacred Domain have the same number of peak saints as the Snow Sky Fox clan, but also had the Red Dragon Saint, who was one of the most powerful supreme saints in the entire Xiantian Great World. If the True Dragon Sacred Domain gave them face, then how could the Snow Sky Fox clan not give face? It could be said that in the entire spirit state, the Red Dragon Saint was the most powerful. I have many things on hand that I can trade with the True Dragon Sacred Domain. Although Tianyang had a good relationship with Kaingshan and the Red Dragon Saint, he didn't want to owe them a favor. Since he could get the True Dragon Sacred Domain to help him through trade, he definitely wouldn't do it through favors. After all, a favor was a favor in the end, and it was not reliable. Tangible benefits, like treasures, were the foundation of cooperation. That's a good suggestion. Although Tianyang had his own plans to infiltrate the Snow Sky Fox clan, it was better to be safe. The True Dragon Sacred Domain was obviously an excellent partner. Since you've cultivated the 9 refined dragon body well, I'll give you some advice as a reward. Tianyang stood up, chuckled, and pointed his finger. A light that contained a huge amount of information entered the Flowing Sky City Lord's mind. His 9-tempered dragon body cultivation was much stronger than the creator of the Scarlet Dragon Martial Saint. Once the body of the Dragon Emperor was successfully condensed, Heavenly Sun would directly step into the realm of physical sanctification. Now that Tianyang had formed the embryonic form of the body of the Dragon Emperor, it wouldn't be an exaggeration to say that he was half a step away from physical sanctification. A half-saint was half a step away from vital energy sanctification. Thank you for your advice, sir. About half an hour later, the Flowing Sky City Lord woke up from his state of enlightenment. The first thing he did was kneel on one knee and roar. In the future, if Lord Tianyong needs any help, I will definitely go through water and tread on fire without hesitation. The City Lord of Flowing Sky City roared as his dragon force spread throughout the entire city. On the other hand, Hong Tsang's expression changed slightly. He did not know what Tianyong had given the city governor of Flowing Sky City to make him so excited. According to Hong Tsang's understanding of the Flowing Sky City governor, the Flowing Sky City governor would not make promises easily. Once he made a promise, he would keep it even if he had to die. If the City Lord of Flowing Sky City said this to Tianyong, it meant that he was truly loyal to Tianyong. Tianyong, on the other hand, smiled faintly and said nothing. During this half an hour, he naturally could not see any changes in the City Lord of Flowing Sky City. However, what Tianyong gave him was all the cultivation methods that Tianyong had created himself. Among them, there were even some of Tianyong's own comprehension of cultivation. This was equivalent to a comprehensive summary of the City Lord of Flowing Sky City's messy cultivation methods. This kind of bestowment was much more powerful than simply bestowing treasures or cultivation base. Treasures were, after all, external objects. Cultivation base would also be unstable. However, after sorting out the cultivation path, the City Lord of Flowing Sky City's future cultivation path would be extremely bright. The City Lord of Flowing Sky City even felt that if he continued to cultivate according to Tianyong's method for a few hundred years, he could definitely step into the Sage-to-Be realm. It was even possible for him to touch the barrier of the Sage realm. Such a great gift was not something that any treasure could compare to. You should cultivate well here. If you see anyone from the Void Mountain, send me a message. Tianyong said. Compared to the City Lord of Flowing Sky City, Tianyong cared more about Ling Yuhan. Although he had already confirmed Ling Yuhan's safety, the Snow Sky Fox clan would definitely not do anything to Ling Yuhan within a month. However, Tianyong's heart was still burning with anger. The sooner he brought Ling Yuhan back, the better. True Dragon, Sacred World. Previously, Tianyong had followed Qi Yingtian into the True Dragon Sacred World. Now that he had stepped into the True Dragon Sacred World again, he was naturally familiar with the place. Indeed, the spiritual energy of heaven and earth in the True Dragon Sacred World is stronger than the outside world. The most direct feeling after entering a small world was the change in the spiritual energy of heaven and earth. The True Dragon Sacred World had been managed by the Dragon Clan for countless years. Naturally, the spiritual energy of heaven and earth was abundant. If it were not for the sages controlling it, the spiritual energy of the entire True Dragon Sacred World would have turned into fog. One would not be able to see the way. Crimson Dragon City is in that direction. After confirming the location, Tianyong immediately activated the Boundless Tao and flew toward Crimson Dragon City. Human clan? However, just as Tianyong moved, a loud shout came from the side. In the next moment, a sharp spear flew toward him. How can there be humans in the True Dragon's Sacred World now? Following that, 3 more spears flew toward him. Each spear contained the powerful true energy of Wu Zun, who was at the peak of the 6th Heaven realm. If a normal peak Wu Zun was hit while flying, he would probably be injured. After all, this long spear also had the extremely strong, penetrating power of the dragon power. However, to Tianyong, with a casual wave of his hand, the 4 spears lost all their power and fell to the ground. Peak Wu Zun. Seeing this, the Dragon Clan member's expression changed drastically. A Peak Wu Zun was not weak in the True Dragon Sacred World. A human like this had entered the True Dragon Sacred World? Hurry up and alert the others. The Sea Dragon, who was slapped away by Tianyong, hurriedly took out his communication token. However, before he could send out a message, he was restrained by Tianyong and couldn't move at all. The Sea Dragon hurriedly looked toward the direction of Tianyong's true energy and froze. Mr. Tianyong, The Dragon God Conference was a grand event of the entire true dragon sacred world. Almost 90% of the dragon clan in the spiritual state would attend it. Naturally, they recognized the human genius who had defeated all the powerful geniuses in the true dragon sacred world and killed Xianyuan Kong of the Xianyuan family. Mr. Tianyang, why are you here? Seeing that it was Tianyang, the sea dragon immediately stopped attacking. What a joke. This guy could even kill Xianyuan Kong. Even Qiying Tian and Jinzhan were no match for Tianyang. He was only at the peak of the 6th level of the true dragon realm. In front of Tianyang, Tianyang could kill him instantly with one glance. If the Heavenly Sun truly had any enmity towards him, he would have killed him a long time ago without leaving any trace behind. You're here for young Master Qi, right? But he's not in Red Dragon City right now. He went to Sky Dragon City with his father, Dragon Saint Red Dragon, the Sea Dragon soldier said. Hearing this, Tianyang raised his eyebrows. Why'd he go to Sky Dragon City? Also, how come Qiying Tian has a new title? Young Master Qi requested it himself. He said that he would beat whoever didn't shout it. The Sea Dragon soldier smiled bitterly. As for why Dragon Saint Red Dragon went to Sky Dragon City, I don't know. Hearing this, Tianyang nodded slightly and let go of the communication token. Then patrol well. Chapter 1229. Sky Dragon City. At the center, all the Sky Dragon tribe's half-saints and above were present. The other dragon clans had also sent out their saints. Even the Golden Dragon clan, which had a very low presence but was not weak, had sent out their saints. On the surface, there were only 4 dragon saints in the True Dragon Sacred Domain. However, the True Dragon Sacred Domain was so huge and had accepted countless dragon tribes over the years. How could there only be 4 dragon saints? However, only the 4 dragon tribes were exposed to the outside world. The remaining dragon saints rarely went out, and the outside world did not know. But now, just in Sky Dragon City alone, there were already 9 great dragon sages gathered, and there were still others who were in seclusion, hiding from the world. So, have you decided? The candidates for the Divine Origin Utopia. The Red Dragon Sage's eyelids twitched as he sat in the main seat. He sounded a little annoyed. Hearing this, some people showed a trace of dissatisfaction. The Divine Origin Utopia is of great importance. How can we make such a hasty decision? What else can we decide? 1 dragon tribe will have 1 slot. The strongest genius will go. My Red Dragon tribe has a Dragon Tribe Great Saint, so 2 slots will go. What else can we do? The Scarlet Dragon's Dragon Sage said in disdain. With so many experts around, the trivial matter that could be settled with a few words would be magnified infinitely. It was just a slot to enter the secret realm. It was not even comparable to the Dragon God Assembly's 1,000 dragon steel. Was there need to quarrel? After being rebuked by the Red Dragon Saint, the dragon who spoke, the Sky Dragon Saint's face turned ugly. Ever since the Dragon God Assembly, the Crimson Dragon Sage had been intentionally or unintentionally provoking him and disgusting him. Although the Sky Dragon Saint did not do anything out of consideration for the Dragon Tribe's interests, the feeling of being disgusted and not being able to fight back was really frustrating. What about me? The Red Dragon Saint raised his eyebrows. Or should I beat you down and give the Sky Dragon Tribe's slot to me? All right, Red Dragon, you're already a few 100,000 years old. Don't be so childish. Hearing this, the Sea Dragon Tribe's dragon Saint showed a headache and comforted him. This time, the situation in the Divine Origin Utopia is somewhat special compared to the past. Your Crimson Dragon clan's Qiying Tian is indeed talented, but he's only one. The other Crimson Dragon clan's geniuses aren't weak, but they're still lacking compared to the top geniuses of the other dragon clans. If the Divine Origin Paradise's quota is given to them, it will still be somewhat of a waste. The reason why we have been arguing for so long is because of the Scarlet Dragon clan's quota. Sea Dragon Saint said helplessly. If it weren't for the fact that the Heavenly Dragon Holy Lands Dragon Saint and Golden Dragon Saint were unwilling to take the lead, she wouldn't have to talk to the Red Dragon Saint. As expected, a cold smile appeared on the Red Dragon Saint's face when he heard this. To put it bluntly, you're targeting my Crimson Dragon clan? If you want to steal something, then be more open about it. Don't be so secretive like a coward. Red Dragon, watch your mouth. Hearing this, Heavenly Dragon Saint could no longer sit still. He was the oldest Saint stage dragon in the True Dragon Sacred Boundary. It's fine if the Red Dragon Saint doesn't respect me, but how dare he scold me? The reason why I'm asking your Crimson Dragon Clan to hand over the other quota is for the benefit of the Dragon Clan. The Divine Origin Paradise is extremely precious. Giving it to an ordinary genius and giving it to a super genius would bring a huge difference in benefits to the Dragon Clan. You should know this yourself. As the most powerful expert of the Dragon Clan, you have to consider things as the most powerful expert of the Dragon Clan. You can't only consider the benefit of your clan. Heavenly Dragon Saint said sternly. Hearing this, the Red Dragon Saint sneered in disdain. Bullsh asterisk T. Instantly, the entire Sky Dragon City fell into silence. Heavenly Dragon Saint's pale face turned red as blood gushed out from his face. Previously, the Red Dragon Saint was still making insinuations. Now, the Red Dragon Saint didn't give him any face and scolded him. For the benefit of the Dragon Clan, why don't you say that after I hand over the quota, it will definitely belong to the White Dragon Saint? The Red Dragon Saint sneered. I've said it before. If you want benefits, just say it. Whether I agree or not depends on my mood. The quota of the Crimson Dragon Clan is indeed dispensable, but what does it have to do with you? I'll settle my own matters. Why do I need you to fart? Even if I throw it to the dogs or waste it, what does it have to do with you? If you don't agree, come out and challenge me, or break through to the Supreme Saint Realm. If you can do it, let alone the quota, even if the entire Crimson Dragon City is given to you, so what? The Red Dragon Saint said. Hearing this, the other 8 Dragon Saints and the group of Heavenly Dragon Half-Saints were speechless. The Heavenly Dragon Saint's face turned ugly. The reason why he stood his ground and chose to hold the meeting in Sky Dragon City instead of the usual Crimson Dragon City was because he wanted to pressure the Crimson Dragon Saint into compromising. In his opinion, the Red Dragon Saint had always been carefree. Exerting some pressure to force the Red Dragon Saint to hand over the quota could also annoy the Red Dragon Saint and benefit his own people. It was killing 3 birds with 1 stone. However, the Red Dragon Saint didn't give him any face. He directly scolded the Heavenly Dragon Saint, the most senior Dragon Saint in the True Dragon Sacred Domain. Bang! Bang! Just then, there were 2 knocks on the door. Hearing this, the 9 Dragon Saints who were arguing fiercely were all stunned. Bai Pengyu, go open the door. The Heavenly Dragon Saint frowned. How come there was still someone here? Could it be that an old monster had come out to fight for the quota? Okay. Bai Pengyu nodded. He was probably the only one who was at the peak of Wuzun. Creak. The door opened. Bai Pengyu looked up and saw an expressionless face. A human. Bai Pengyu was stunned. Then he said in shock, Heavens, even if I give the quota to my young friend Tianyang, I won't give it to you, the old fox Heavenly Dragon Saint. Hey, Tianyang, you're here? The Red Dragon Saint didn't care about the movement at the door. He was still sneering and mocking. The next moment, he noticed the expressionless Tianyang at the door. Come, come, come. I have a treasure to show you. Tianyang, what is it? Outside the True Dragon Sacred Domain. In a mountain range that was shrouded in heaven and earth spiritual chi and covered by an array. It was impossible to see from the outside. The soul tablet is broken. The life lamp is also extinguished. A figure hidden in the shadows glanced at the broken jade tablet in his hand and the extinguished lamp in front of him. As expected, he Yiming, that trash, will most likely be killed once he goes out. The figure waved his hand and put the life lamp and soul tablet back into his space bag. Then, an extremely cold, murderous intent flashed in his eyes. Chapter 1230. Tianyang had no idea what was happening outside the True Dragon Sacred Domain. However, Tianyang was still dumbfounded by what was happening before him. What is this? He had just entered, and the Dragon Saint wanted him to look at his treasure before he even said anything. Look at my ass. He was afraid that he would chop the treasure into pieces. Sigh. I didn't think before I spoke, but this is really a treasure. Seeing Tianyang's weird expression, The dragon saint knew that he had said something wrong. He patted his head and laughed. Wait. However, before Tianyang could move, the heavenly dragon saint shouted. Then, he stared at Tianyang as if he was looking at his father's murderer. Beside him, the heavenly dragon clan's peak, half-saint Baizizu, also stared at Tianyang with hatred. How did you get in? The true dragon's sacred domain was well sealed. Even if one had entered it once, they would need someone to bring them in again. However, Tianyang knew Qi Ing Tian and the heavenly dragon saint in the true dragon's sacred domain. The heavenly dragon saint was having a meeting here, while Qi Ing Tian was fooling around in Heavenly Dragon City. Where did this person come from to let Tianyang enter the true dragon sacred domain? I came in by myself. Does it have anything to do with you? Hearing that, Tianyang saw that it was the heavenly dragon saint who spoke, so he did not hold back. If he used the heaven-devouring secret technique and the five-saint Tao, it would not be difficult for him to deal with a peak half-saint. Even if he could not defeat the peak half-saint, he would not be defeated. Tianyang fought the medicine demon Gu Saint because he could not find a way to deal with the Gu King, so he was in a stalemate. If Tianyang fought the medicine demon Gu Saint head-on, the medicine demon Gu Saint would kneel down immediately. Bastard! Seeing that Tianyang was even more arrogant than before, the heavenly dragon saint glared at Tianyang with bloodshot eyes. He had not forgotten how the people of the Xianyuan clan had treated him when they discovered that Xianyuan Kong had died in the true dragon's sacred boundary after the Dragon God Gathering. Although the Xianyuan family did not dare to be too harsh on the heavenly dragon saint due to his background in the Jinlong sacred world, he was still taught a lesson by the great sage projection of the Xianyuan family. He didn't dare to hold any grudges against the Xianyuan family. Naturally, all his hatred was transferred to Tianyang. When enemies meet, their eyes blaze with hatred. If it wasn't for his last shred of rationality, the heavenly dragon sage would have torn Tianyang apart. Is this how you talk to the true dragon's sacred world's dragon sage? Tianlong Saint took a deep breath and said. His tone had regained the arrogance and disdain that a dragon saint should have. In just a few months, you've stabilized Wu Zun's cultivation and even stepped into the pinnacle of Wu Zun's cultivation. Your talent is not bad. But everyone here is a half-saint. Who gave you the courage to speak? The heavenly dragon sage sneered. You don't kneel in front of a saint and even dare to speak arrogantly. Who gave you the confidence? Hearing this, the other dragons looked like they were waiting to watch a good show. Although they didn't know why, the human kid who had just entered seemed to have caused the heavenly dragon sage to be extremely displeased. The heavenly dragon sage was already going crazy from being bullied by the red dragon sage. Now that Tianyang had suddenly appeared, the heavenly dragon sage would definitely attack this target with all his might. As for what the heavenly dragon sage said about entering the Jinlong sacred world without permission and speaking rudely to a saint, the dragon sages didn't care. They weren't humans and didn't care about etiquette at all. They just wanted to watch a good show. Kneel? Hearing this, Tianyang raised his eyebrows and showed a cold look. I don't kneel to the heavens, the earth, or the common people. Who do you think you are? You want me to kneel? How dare you? Hearing this, the heavenly dragon sage was completely enraged. With a roar, the aura of a pinnacle dragon sage exploded. This time, he didn't hold back. He even purposely gathered his aura and pressed it down on Tianyang's body. How dare you be so arrogant in front of Pinnacle Saint? Today, I'll teach you a lesson on behalf of your parents. The heavenly dragon sage roared. All of his aura pressed down on Tianyang's body. Hearing the word parents, Tianyang's face instantly turned cold. In his previous life, he was just an orphan. He grew up in a pile of trash and had never seen his parents. Only the illusion in the Emperor Taishu's 1,000-level refining heart tower had some clues about his parents in his previous life. In this life, his father had left when he was 8 years old. Now, he was imprisoned in the Xianyuan family's dungeon. His mother's whereabouts were unknown. To Tianyang, parents were taboo. This heavenly dragon sage dared to mention his parents in front of him? Heavenly sword. Out. Martial soul talent. Devour the heavens. Tianyang snorted coldly. A violent devouring power exploded. Everything around him started to vibrate violently. The spiritual chi of heaven and earth in the true dragon's sacred domain was very rich. Because of the 9 dragon sages and countless half-sages gathered in Heavenly Dragon City, there were still traces of Holy Path aura in the air. These traces of Holy Path aura were useless before the Heavenly Sword entered the Divine Grade. However, once the Heavenly Sword entered the Divine Grade, the value of the Holy Path aura was immediately revealed. The power of the Devouring Sky secret skill had increased tremendously. Boom! Tianyang's aura instantly surged. From the pinnacle of Wuzun, he jumped from the beginner level of a half-sage to the middle level of a half-sage. At the same time, the Great Void sword embryo in his hand spat out streaks of sharp sword radiance. Without even looking, he slashed out, sword breaking 9 desolation. The sword pierced through the space and instantly destroyed everything around it. The Scarlet Dragon Saint was also shocked as he stood up. However, the speed of his sword light was faster than anyone else's. Heavenly Dragon Sage had nowhere to dodge. He could only tilt his head. However, the sword radiance still brushed past his face. It left behind a bloody wound that was so deep that his bones could be seen. A piercing pain spread from the wound to his brain. The Heavenly Dragon Sage's anger exploded at this moment. Get lost! With a roar, the dragon aura exploded. The central meeting room, which had been built at a great cost, was instantly destroyed by the furious dragon aura. In the next moment, Heavenly Dragon Sage soared into the sky. Tianyang followed closely behind him. Brat, you're courting death. Heavenly Dragon Sage's eyes were ferocious. He stared at Tianyang. His Sage Realm Dragon aura exploded and charged towards Tianyang. Heavenly Dragon God Destroying Claw. As the claw struck out, the space around it was shattered. It directly created a large void in the sky above Heavenly Dragon City. The terrifying dragon claw viciously slammed towards Tianyang. Seeing this, Tianyang's expression did not change. He slashed out with his sword. In an instant, a black and white sword radiance that was not any weaker than the sword-breaking 9 desolation burst out. It collided with the Heavenly Dragon God Destroying Claw. In an instant, the ground was overturned and the space was torn apart. Waves of energy ripples swept out wildly. Chapter 1231. Boom! A terrifying explosion reverberated through the entire Sky Dragon City. Waves of terrifying energy ripples, as if they contained destructive power, instantly engulfed the entire Sky Dragon City. If not for the fact that everyone in Sky Dragon City was from the Dragon Clan and had strong physiques, the impact of the collision between Tianyang and Sky Dragon Saint could have easily killed anyone below Wuzun's level. But even so, there were still many heavenly dragons who groaned and were injured by the aftershocks. Sky Dragon Saint roared and threw out another punch when he saw that his first attack had failed. This punch contained a terrifying Saint Realm Dragon power, and it also contained the Saint Path that made the Sky Dragon Saint famous. The Path of Penetration. Back then, Sky Dragon Saint had used a drop of water to comprehend the Saint Path, and used it as a foundation to step into the half-Saint realm. He then ascended to the Saint Realm. The Path of Penetration was more abstract than the Saint Realm Sword Dao, Saint Realm Pill Dao, Saint Realm Array Dao, and Life and Death Dao. However, its power was not weak at all. Once it was used, almost all defenses would be reduced to nothingness. Even attacks would be destroyed by this terrifying penetrative power. He's even using the Saint Path. Seeing this, some Dragon Saints were stunned. Looking at Sky Dragon Saint's situation, it did not seem like he was toying with a human kid. It seemed like he was really enraged by this human kid and had even started to go berserk. It can't be. It's just a pinnacle Wuzun. Is it enough to make a pinnacle saint so angry? Some Dragon Saints were in disbelief, while Tianyang's expression did not change. Looking at the rapidly expanding fist print in the sky, he snorted and slashed out with his sword. Saint Realm Sword Tao, Life and Death Tao, Myriad Tao and Boundless Tao fuse. Force Saint Tao, Myriad Destruction. Boom! The fist imprint and the 10,000 mammoth annihilation collided violently. In an instant, the ground of Sky Dragon City started to churn. The terrifyingly strong energy nearly turned into an unparalleled storm, drowning the entire Heavenly Dragon City. At the same time, both sides of the battle spat out a mouthful of blood. Is this the power of a pinnacle saint? Compared to the medicine god sect patriarch and medicine demon venomous insect saint, he is much stronger. Tianyong wiped the blood from the corner of his mouth and looked solemn. If the pinnacle saint of the Snow Sky Fox clan was as powerful as Sky Dragon Saint, then he would have to pay a higher price. Little did he know that Dragon Saint was the most shocked one. You're still alive after taking a direct hit from me? Waves of shock surged in Tian Longsheng's heart. He wasn't completely enraged when he had attacked Tianyong. He knew that Tianyong was on good terms with the Dragon Saint of the Scarlet Dragons, and the Scarlet Dragons did not have a second candidate. According to the Scarlet Dragon Holy Dragon's reaction, there was a chance that the second spot would be given to Heavenly Sun. Saint Sky Dragon Saint Saint Saint, Saint Dragon Dragon Saint, Saint 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 Saint, Saint Dragon Saint 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 Saint, Saint Dragon Saint Saint. The thoughts of the Crimson Dragon Saint could not be changed by the power of the Heavenly Dragon Saint. However, he could change Tianyong's life. As long as Tianyong was dead, the Crimson Dragon Sage would have to change even if he didn't want to. At that time, even if it did not fall into the hands of the Heavenly Dragon clan, the Heavenly Dragon Saint could rely on his seniority as an elder and pay a price to snatch the Divine Origin Paradise's quota. At that time, wouldn't the second spot still be his Heavenly Dragon clan's? Everything was perfect. However, the Heavenly Dragon Saint had missed out on one point. A crucial point. He had never imagined that Tianyong's strength had already become so powerful. Even in these few exchanges, he was not at a disadvantage at all. Damn it! The Heavenly Dragon Holy Saint roared and wanted to attack again, but the Red Dragon Holy Saint finally spoke. Enough! The aura of a great saint exploded out. At that instant, a strong, suffocating aura suppressed the attacks. At the same time, a Supreme Saint's vital force swept out, shattering Tianyong and Tianlong Saint's attacks. The Crimson Dragon Sage was furious. The Great Sage was furious. Oh no! Seeing this, the Heavenly Dragon Holy Saint's expression changed. All his previous plans were based on the fact that he could quickly kill Tianyong and make the Crimson Dragon Holy Saint speechless. But now, Tianyong's strength had far exceeded his expectations. As a result, he could not kill Tianyong in an instant. Next, he would have to personally endure the wrath of the Crimson Dragon Holy Saint, who was a Supreme Saint. Heavenly Dragon Holy Saint, are your ears mute or your eyes deaf? The Crimson Dragon Holy Saint said coldly. He did not even use the right words to mock the Heavenly Dragon Holy Saint. Hearing this, the Heavenly Dragon Holy Saint's expression turned ugly. This human scram. The Crimson Dragon Sage opened his mouth and let out a roar that seemed to have a physical form as he charged forward. Instantly, the Heavenly Dragon Holy Saint's pupils shrank. He wanted to use his vital force to resist, but this terrifying attack shattered all his defenses and sent him flying. I don't want to hear any of your arguments. I'll treat every word you say as fart. If you fart too much, you'll have to consider whether your head is harder or my dragon claws are sharper. The Crimson Dragon Holy Saint said coldly. At this moment, he truly displayed the domineering aura of a Supreme Saint. The Crimson Dragon Holy Saint was easy to talk to. Indeed, he was easy to talk to. Even when facing Wu Zun, who had not reached his peak, the Crimson Dragon Holy Saint treated Tianyong with sincerity. At the Dragon God Assembly, the Heavenly Dragon Holy Saint had provoked him time and time again, but he was not angered. However, this did not mean that anyone could ride on the Crimson Dragon Holy Saint's face and shit on him. It's settled then. The Crimson Dragon clan will have two spots. One is Qiying Tian, and the other is Tianyong. The rest is up to you. If you have any objections, come to my Crimson Dragon City and fight me one-on-one. I'll let you use one hand." The Crimson Dragon Holy Saint soared into the sky and looked at the 7 Dragon Holy Saints in disbelief and said coldly, "Every injustice has its perpetrator, and every debt has its debtor." His anger was only directed at the Heavenly Dragon Holy Saint. However, the Crimson Dragon Holy Saint would not be kind to the others who were watching on the sidelines. The remaining 7 Dragon Holy Saints kept quiet out of fear and did not dare to make sound. "Tianyang and Rascal, come with me. Don't mess around in the Heavenly Dragon City," the Crimson Dragon Holy Saint said. Hearing this, Tianyang nodded slightly and followed. If the Crimson Dragon Holy Saint did not make a move, Tianyang wanted to continue fighting with the Heavenly Dragon Holy Saint to test the gap between him and a peak saint. However, he did not have the chance now. Hearing this, a stream of light suddenly flew out of the Heavenly Dragon City. It was Chi Tian. Chapter 1232. The Divine Origin Utopia is actually a powerful secret realm that the True Dragon's sacred world forcibly moved from the outside world into the True Dragon's sacred world. Legend has it that this powerful secret realm can temper the primordial spirit and forge the saint's soul. The Red Dragon Saint explained in Red Dragon City. The Divine Origin Utopia is a secret realm for tempering the primordial spirit. It's very effective. Otherwise, the Heavenly Dragon Saint wouldn't have swallowed his million-year-old pride to attack a junior like you. Tianyang nodded slightly. He didn't care whether the Heavenly Dragon Saint attacked him or not. Even if the Heavenly Dragon Saint didn't attack him first, Tianyang would find the Heavenly Dragon Saint sooner or later after he became a saint. However, the Heavenly Dragon Saint's attack gave Tianyang another reason to kill the Heavenly Dragon Saint in the future. What he cared more about was the Divine Origin Utopia. The Divine Origin Utopia could temper the primordial spirit. Of the 3 ways to become a saint, the True Essence Saint was the easiest. After all, it was something that every saint had to do. If one only cultivated outside of the True Essence Saint, they might be able to become a saint using the Sword Tao. However, the True Essence Saint would only be at the peak of the half-saint realm at most, which was a disadvantage. The 3 ways to become a saint were the ones with the most solid foundation. Among them, the True Essence Saint was the easiest. Currently, in the Xintian Great World, or even the entire universe, 99% of the saints were True Essence Saints. There were probably only a few in the entire Xintian Great World who were True Essence Saints. As for the primordial spirit, it was even rarer. The power of Tianyang's primordial spirit was already stronger than the average person, but only by a little. There was still a long way to go before his primordial spirit could become a saint. If he went through the tempering of the Divine Origin Utopia, his primordial spirit might not become a saint immediately, but it would definitely be much easier. "Then I'll go," Tianyang said without hesitation. Before he went to the Snow Fox clan, the stronger he was, the more insurance he would have against them. Tianyang would not let go of any opportunity to bring Ling Yuhan back. "I don't think you'll refuse." Hearing this, the Red Dragon Saint immediately laughed. The Divine Origin Paradise was a true paradise in the truest sense of the word. It would probably not appear even after 8 million years. Speaking of which, why did you suddenly visit my True Dragon Sacred World at such a critical time? When the Red Dragon Sage said this, a look of doubt crossed his face. Could it be that he had heard that the Divine Essence Paradise was about to open and had specially come here? Although the Crimson Dragon Sage wouldn't be dissatisfied and remove Tianyang's spot, his evaluation of Tianyang would be much lower. "I'm here to trade with the Crimson Dragon Saint." At this point, Tianyang's expression suddenly became extremely serious. The Divine Essence Paradise might be precious, but in front of Ling Yuhan, it was not worth mentioning at all. "Oh," hearing this, the Crimson Dragon Sage raised his eyebrows. "A deal? What deal?" The Crimson Dragon Sage can name any price you want in exchange for a chance to strike, Tianyang said solemnly. Hearing this, Chi Tian, who was eating and drinking spiritual spring water, was stunned. "Big brother, you're asking Stinky Father to strike?" Are you going to tear down the Xianyuan family? Little brat, what did you say about your father? However, as soon as Qi Yingtian finished speaking, he was caught off guard by the Crimson Dragon Sage. He was sent flying several feet away and fell flat on his face. But why do you want me to strike? At my level, even if the price is right, I can't just strike as and when I want to. The Crimson Dragon Sage said. The Great Saint Realm was already at the top of the pyramid in the Xiantian Great World. For example, the Crimson Dragon Sage could only use his full strength when dealing with internal problems. However, when it came to the outside world, he could not casually strike. Otherwise, the balance of the Xiantian Great World would be affected and the world would be in turmoil. If you really want to strike at the Xianyuan family, I can only refuse. The Crimson Dragon Sage said. He knew that the head of the Tian family, Tian Hao, was imprisoned in the Xianyuan family's dungeon. It was very likely that Tian Yang would ask him to strike at the Xianyuan family. It's not the Xianyuan family. Tian Yang shook his head. It's the Snow Fox clan. Tian Yang did not intend to borrow the power of the true dragon's sacred domain. When he reached the Saint Realm, he would have the power to fight against a great saint. Even if he could not defeat them, he could still escape. Even the Xianyuan family had to take this power seriously. Tian Yang did not believe that the Xianyuan family would be so stubborn that they would not even care about a peak saint. However, the Snow Fox clan was in a month's time. Tian Yang had no choice but to look for the Crimson Dragon Sage. Snow Fox clan? Why are you looking for trouble with them? The Crimson Dragon Sage was stunned. He had heard of the Snow Fox clan before. They were a powerful hidden demon clan in the northern spiritual state. However, Tian Yang was a pure human and had never been to the northern spiritual state. How could he be related to the hidden Snow Fox clan in the northern spiritual state? The kind that would require a great saint to strike? The Snow Fox clan capture my wife. They are going to force her to marry the young master of the Snow Fox clan in a month's time. Tian Yang said. Although he was trying his best to suppress his emotions, he did not want to vent his anger. However, the last two words were squeezed out from between his teeth. They were extremely stiff and filled with endless killing intent. If he was powerful enough, Tian Yang would not mind turning the Snow Fox clan upside down. What? Hearing this, Qi Yingtian jumped to his feet, his hair standing on end. That Snow Sky Fox clan member actually dares to attack sister-in-law. Kill them. Kill them. Kill the Snow Fox clan until their blood flows like a river. Twist the head of the Snow Fox clan's leader and kick it like a ball. The hatred of stealing my wife is irreconcilable. Let's go and destroy the Snow Fox clan now. Qi Yingtian roared. His eyes started to turn red and dragon scales started to appear on his temples. This time he was truly enraged. Calm down. Hearing this, the red dragon saint frowned. He pointed a finger and a stream of light hit Qi Yingtian's forehead. It pushed back the bloodline power that had just gone berserk. I see. The Snow Fox clan was not well known in the Xiantian Great World. Even if they were destroyed, it would not affect the world. It was not impossible for the red dragon saint to strike. I have sage weapons, great saint movement techniques, and even various secret manuals of the demon race. The Illusion Demon Ancient Book is the Illusion Demon Tribe's treasure. Seeing that the red dragon saint did not reject him, Tian Yang said, No need. Those are not of much value to me. The red dragon saint shook his head. Tian Yang's expression changed. If the red dragon saint did not need those things, he really did not have anything else to offer. In the next moment, the Crimson Dragon Saint spoke. You only need to beat up the other dragon race guys in the Divine Origin Utopia. That will be enough. The Red Dragon Saint chuckled. Hearing this, Tian Yang smiled. Chapter 1233. How dare you? You are too presumptuous. Who does Red Dragon Saint think he is? When I was conquering the 4 seas and dominating the entire true dragon sacred domain, he was still drinking milk. How dare he treat me so unfairly? Outside Sky Dragon City, in Sky Dragon Saint's mansion, Sky Dragon Saint's eyes looked as if they were about to spit fire. His face was filled with rage as he crushed a piece of supreme grade spiritual jade in his hand. Beside him, Bai Pingyu looked on silently. His eyes were filled with endless rage. Back at the Dragon God Assembly, Tianyong hadn't given the Heavenly Dragon clan any face at all. He'd crippled Xianyuan Kong right in front of him, and even killed Xianyuan Kong on the Cloud Sky Arena. He was so frightened that he did not even dare to make a move. Now, Sky Dragon Saint was going to take the second slot for his brother, Bai Pingyu. However, Tianyong came out of nowhere and took it away again. It was as if he was born to oppose Bai Pingyu. This Red Dragon Saint is too much. This Tianyong is also a bastard. Sky Dragon Saint roared. Then, he looked at Bai Pingyu coldly. This time, Xing will not be able to go to the Divine Origin Cave. So this time, you must complete a task. What task? Bai Pingyu was stunned. What do you want me to do? This is the demon breeding seal that I spent a lot of money to get from the Southern Devil Tribe. Sky Dragon Saint waved his hand, and a space power flashed. Suddenly, a small jade bottle appeared in his hand. In the jade bottle, a strange black and red gas was swirling. Just one look at it was enough to make one's heart tremble. Demon breeding seal? Bai Pingyu was stunned. He had never heard of the demon breeding seal. The demon breeding seal was created by the Southern Devil Tribe, an evil Buddhist sect. Once it is used, the opponent will be eroded by the demon chi in the demon breeding seal. The erosion is formless, colorless, and odorless. Even an ordinary sage-to-be would not be able to detect anything strange. However, once the demonic chi's corrosion reaches a certain level, the primordial spirit will be corroded by the demonic chi. In the end, the entire primordial spirit will be corroded and shattered. The Divine Origin Utopia is a place to temper one's primordial spirit. If something happens to the primordial spirit in the Divine Origin Utopia, I don't think I need to tell you what will happen next. The Heavenly Dragon Saint laughed sinisterly. Hearing this, Bai Pingyu shuddered. There was actually such a strange thing in this world. And the plan that the Heavenly Dragon Saint came up with, brilliant. It was too brilliant. As expected of great-grandfather, even the self-proclaimed Earth Dragon Saint couldn't come up with such a scheme. Bai Pingyu laughed heartily. Once the growing devil seal appears, no matter how strong Tianyong is, he will inevitably be affected. At that time, after being tempered by the power of the divine essence paradise, his primordial spirit will definitely be heavily injured. At that time, the demonic chi will corrode Tianyong's primordial spirit again. In the end, Tianyong's primordial spirit will die. Bai Pingyu laughed maniacally. Even if he doesn't die, Tianyong's future path to the Saint Realm will definitely be cut off. With his primordial spirit corrupted, how can he step into the Saint Realm again? Brilliant. Too brilliant. Hearing this, the Heavenly Dragon Saint let out a proud smile. Originally, in order to fight for the other slot in the Divine Origin Utopia, there was no need to go to this step. Although the Divine Origin Utopia was precious, it wasn't to the extent that the Heavenly Dragon Saint didn't want to lose face. However, Tianyong dared to challenge his dignity as the Heavenly Dragon Saint again and again. He even dared to cut a line of blood on his face. The Heavenly Dragon Saint naturally wanted to kill Tianyong. He, the Heavenly Dragon Saint, wanted to deal with Tianyong. It was Tianyong's honor. Tianyong dared to fight back, which meant that he didn't care about the Heavenly Dragon Saint. In that case, he must die. The Divine Origin Utopia opened on the second day after the meeting. Otherwise, the Heavenly Dragon Saint wouldn't be in such a hurry to fight for the slot. This is the Divine Origin Utopia? Tianyong stood on the Crimson Earth millions of miles away from the Crimson Dragon City. Looking at the desolation in front of him, he was shocked. Does the Divine Origin Utopia affect the surrounding heaven and earth? The Divine Origin Utopia was forcefully moved into the true dragon sacred world from the outside world by the ancestors of the dragon tribe. It naturally doesn't integrate perfectly with the true dragon sacred world. Therefore, in order to maintain the Divine Origin Utopia's existence in the true dragon sacred world, it needs to devour the spiritual chi of heaven and earth. After a long time, there won't be any life left in the surroundings. The Red Dragon Saint explained. Then, he looked at the other dragon saints and the geniuses they had brought with them. Most of them were the faces that appeared at the Dragon God gathering. Tianyang wasn't here to make friends with the geniuses of the Dragon tribe, so he didn't care. However, the Dragon Saint of the Crimson Dragon spoke. The Heavenly Dragon Saint is arrogant and self-opinionated. You have disrespected him many times, so the Heavenly Dragon Saint will definitely think of various ways to deal with you. Although the Divine Origin Utopia is a place to refine one's primordial spirit, it is also a place filled with danger. Therefore, after you enter the Divine Origin Utopia, you should pay attention to Bai Pengyu. The Heavenly Dragon Saint might give him something. The Dragon Saint of the Crimson Dragon said. Hearing this, Tianyang nodded slightly. A cold light flashed in his eyes. The Divine Origin Utopia was related to the operation against the Snow Sky Fox tribe in a month's time. Tianyang could only succeed, not fail. Last time, Tianyang didn't want to provoke the Dragon tribe, so he didn't do anything to Bai Pengyu. But this time, if Bai Pengyu still wanted to cause trouble, then don't blame him for being merciless. Now, the 10 geniuses are all here. The Dragon Saint of the Crimson Dragon looked around, nodded slightly, and flew into the sky. Then, the Divine Origin Utopia will be opened. In the next moment, the Dragon Saint of the Crimson Dragon formed a seal with his hands, and the primordial spirit of the Supreme Saint Realm burst out. Suddenly, everything in the surroundings began to fluctuate wildly, and a blurry, dazzling light was suddenly born in the Crimson Earth. In the next moment, the dazzling light suddenly surged and rapidly expanded, and finally formed a spatial gate that emitted an incomparably powerful aura. The Divine Origin Utopia is filled with danger, but I don't want to see anyone die in the Divine Origin Utopia. So, it's best for everyone to do their own things. I'll stop here. Take care of yourselves. The Dragon Saint of the Crimson Dragon said indifferently. Apart from Tianyang, the other 9 geniuses of the Dragon tribe also moved. Bai Pengyu looked at Tianyang viciously, clenched the Growth Demon's seal in his hand, and stepped into the spatial gate. Tianyang also noticed Bai Pengyu's gaze, and the corner of his mouth curled up. Chapter 1234. Divine Origin Wonderland. Thousands of miles of barren land. Not a single blade of grass grew. However, this was the outside world. Inside, it was even more lifeless. The world was pale white. This is the Divine Origin Wonderland. Unlike the other geniuses of the Dragon tribe, Tianyang's understanding of the Divine Origin Wonderland was only limited to what the Red Dragon Saint had introduced to him. And it was only a little. Haha. Although the Divine Origin Wonderland is called a wonderland, in reality, the part that truly belongs to cultivation treasures has long disappeared over the years. The current Divine Origin Wonderland is just a super large primordial spirit tempering formation created by an expert of an unknown realm. Seeing Tianyang's surprised look, Bai Pengyu immediately sneered and said. Hearing this, Tianyang nodded slightly and scanned his surroundings. He had not truly stepped into the Divine Origin Wonderland yet. In other words, he had truly entered the primordial spirit tempering ground. In front of him was an incomparably huge formation. With one's eyes, one could not see the boundary at all. Even a Saint Emperor would not be able to set up a formation of this level. After all, Tianyang's formation Dao had reached the Saint realm. Naturally, he could tell at a glance how powerful this formation was. The formation was made up of endless formation runes. However, even if Tianyang's primordial spirit was pushed to the limit, he still could not see a single formation rune in this formation. However, he could still feel the terrifying power. At least, the 9-universe Saint Emperor could not do it, the little golden girl said. There was a strange sense of seriousness in her tone. This formation does not look like a product of this world. However, this Divine Origin Wonderland was moved from the outside world by the ancestors of the Dragon tribe in the True Dragon Sacred World. The main part has already disappeared. Even I can't tell what realm this formation was created by, the little golden girl said. Although she was the weapon spirit of the Heaven's Expanse Temple, left behind by an existence above the Saint Emperor, she only had a superficial understanding of those above the Saint Emperor. Although she knew that this formation was extraordinary, she could not understand more about it. Interesting. Hearing this, Tianyang smiled and walked forward. Immediately, a terrifying pressure was applied to his soul. Idiot. Seeing this, Bai Pingyu could not help but mock. The degree of tempering of the primordial spirit in the divine origin wonderland is not something that those useless trash in the outside world can compare to. Even we have to adjust our condition before we dare to step into the range of tempering the primordial spirit. To enter without any preparation is simply courting death. Hearing this, everyone's expression changed slightly. Other than the geniuses of the 4 dragon tribes, the rest of the dragon tribes did not know much about the divine origin cave. When they saw Tianyang struggling to take a step forward, they were so frightened that their faces changed. They were well aware of Tianyang's strength. In the Dragon God Assembly, he had suppressed the other geniuses. Even Jin Zhan and Qi Yingtian had been suppressed by Tianyang. As for people like Lan Ji and Bai Pingyu, they didn't even qualify to be hammered to death. Geniuses like them, who had only taken a single step, were already unable to move. Just how terrifying was this divine essence paradise? I see. Tianyang smiled, revealing a look of understanding. This divine essence paradise is not just a simple suppression of the primordial spirit. In this formation, there is a powerful force that specializes in strengthening the primordial spirit. However, one can only absorb a trace of it under the suppression of the primordial spirit. After absorbing a trace of it, the power of the primordial spirit has strengthened a little. Although it's very small, it's much stronger than simply cultivating. In the next moment, Tianyang raised his head and walked directly into the depths. The suppression of the outer layer was too weak. Although it was helpful for Tianyang to cultivate the power of the primordial spirit, it was still lacking by a lot. What Tianyang wanted was an opportunity to let his primordial spirit become a sage. The suppression of the outside world could not satisfy him at all. He can still move. Seeing this, Bai Pingyu revealed a look of surprise. He had never entered the divine origin wonderland, so he naturally did not know how strong the suppression of the divine origin wonderland was. Seeing that Tianyang only stopped for half a minute and was able to move again, he became suspicious. Could it be that the suppression of the divine origin wonderland on the primordial spirit was not as strong as what the heavenly dragon saint said? If he could do it, I can definitely do it too. The dragon soul of the dragon race is definitely much stronger than the weak primordial spirit of the human race. Bai Pingyu gritted his teeth, gave up on continuing his preparations, and stepped into the range of the formation. Boom! In an instant, Bai Pingyu's primordial spirit seemed to have been hit by a heavy hammer. His entire body lay on the ground, and blood flowed from the corner of his mouth. He almost could not withstand the suppression. As for Tianyang, although his pace was not fast, he still walked step by step into the depths of the formation. Damn you! Bai Pingyu lay on the ground, staring at Tianyang's back, revealing an extremely furious expression. This Tianyang dared to deceive him. The suppression of the divine origin wonderland was simply terrifying. This Tianyang would rather his own primordial spirit be injured to make a fool of him. The strongest genius of the heavenly dragon race was actually beaten down by the suppression of the divine origin wonderland the moment he stepped into it. What was this? Bai Pingyu could even imagine how the group of fellows behind him would laugh at him. However, behind Bai Pingyu, Lan Ji, Jin Zhan, and Qi Yingtian were all dumbfounded as they watched Tianyang walk further and further away. They were extremely shocked. Tianyang, isn't he too strong? He can walk so far under this kind of suppression. Primordial spirit suppression was not like ordinary true essence suppression or pressure suppression. Primordial spirit suppression directly suppressed one's essence. Even if one could withstand this pressure, it would be incomparably difficult to command one's body to do anything. However, Tianyang was actually able to move freely under the increasing pressure. This kind of strength was simply terrifying. Bastard, seeing that Tianyang was walking further and further away, and that he was about to be unable to touch him, Bai Pingyu steeled his heart and directly smashed the jade bottle in his hand that contained the demon-growing seal. Suddenly, the ghostly demonic chi disappeared into the air and turned colorless, flying towards the heavenly sun at high speed. In the next second, a black and red devil seal suddenly appeared on Tianyang's back. Then, it quickly disappeared. Ha ha ha! Tianyang, you're dead meat. Seeing this, Bai Pingyu laughed wildly in his heart. He struggled to stand up and continued forward. Chapter 1235. Boom! Tianyang, who was charging toward the place where the pressure was stronger, suddenly stopped. In his eyes, there was also a thought-provoking light. He used his primordial spirit power to scan Bai Pingyu, who had crawled up and was moving forward at a tortoise-like speed. His lips curled into a faint smile. I didn't expect the Heavenly Dragon Tribe to have some tricks up their sleeves. They even managed to get their hands on a demonic technique. Although the demon-growing seal belonged to a group of demonic cultivators like the Southern Demon Roar, it was still demonic chi in essence. It was a demonic technique. Apart from those who had experienced the demonic attack 10,000 years ago, how many people in the entire mysterious sky great world had actually seen a demonic cultivator? Most of them had only heard about it through various books, ancient scrolls, and word of mouth. The Heavenly Dragon Tribe had managed to get their hands on a demonic technique and used it on him. It had to be said that it was really a big deal. However, Tianyang chuckled, not caring about the demon-growing seal's attack at all. He might not know that when I left the true dragon's sacred world, I even went to the demonic territory to have some fun. Ordinary demonic chi was indeed a terrifying thing for human cultivators. It could even corrode the foundation of the primordial spirit and the sea of the soul. Once one was struck, one would have to pay a great price to expel it. In the divine origin utopia, where the pressure was omnipresent and extremely powerful, one would definitely die if one was struck. The heavenly dragon, Saint, was indeed an old monster who had cultivated for nearly 1,000,000 years. Although his strength wasn't great, he had many tricks up his sleeves. However, he had most likely been in a deep slumber for the past 1,000,000 years. He hadn't even thought about it. What would he do if this technique didn't work? I won't devour it first. I'll wait for a good show. Tianyang chuckled, not caring about the demon-growing seal at all. With the sky firmament soared. Any demonic chi in front of Tianyang was courting death. It would only be devoured. But now, not only did Tianyang not intend to devour the demon-growing seal, he wanted to make good use of it. After all, the pressure of the divine origin utopia might not be able to satisfy him. If the divine origin utopia wasn't strong enough, Tianyang could use another grow devil seal to temper the power of his yuan spirit. However, Bai Pingyu, who was behind him, was still incomparably pleased with himself. He still thought that Tianyang was unaware of the birthing devil seal and was about to be corroded and killed by the demonic chi. At that moment, Chi Yingtian and the others had all entered the divine origin paradise. What a powerful formation! As soon as he stepped in, Chi Yingtian's expression changed. He had already overestimated the oppressive power of this spirit formation. However, he didn't expect that the oppressive force was much stronger than he had estimated. This pressure directly suppressed the primordial spirit. Even if one could withstand it, without strong willpower, one would not be able to control one's body to continue forward or cultivate. One had to admit that the divine essence paradise's array formation was simply amazing. Brother Tianyang is still moving forward? That's too strong. Chi Yingtian had just stabilized himself when he took another step forward. However, this step scared him so much that he almost retracted his foot. This was too strong. It was just a step away, but his yuan spirit had almost been crushed. As for Tianyang, although he wasn't advancing very quickly, the distance between each step was very even, neither too long nor too short. The increase in pressure from each step was also very similar. This was a good way to withstand the pressure, but first, one had to be able to continue forward. Chi Yingtian immediately put down all his pride and began to move forward with his 2 feet. As for Bai Pengyu, he was still standing in place, sneering at Tianyang. Move forward. Move forward. The further in front, the faster you'll die. At that moment, Tianyang, who was moving forward, suddenly stopped and looked behind him. For you. Tianyang flicked his finger, and a stream of light shot toward Qi Yingtian. Qi Yingtian was stunned. He hurriedly caught the stream of light, which turned into a scroll and appeared in his hand. This is... Qi Yingtian was stunned. He didn't know why Tianyang suddenly gave him a scroll, but he believed that Tianyang wouldn't harm him, so he opened it. Immediately, a huge amount of information poured into Qi Yingtian's mind. Qi Yingtian was stunned. Qi Yingtian? What's wrong? Lan Ji, Jin Zhan, and the others, who had entered the array formation with Qi Yingtian, were shocked. Could this scroll be some kind of demonic creature? Qi Yingtian, the crown prince of the Crimson Dragon clan, was stunned. Ha! At this time, Qi Yingtian suddenly laughed wildly. My big brother Tanyang is my big brother. Awesome. Qi Yingtian looked at the other geniuses of the Dragon clan and said, This is the method my brother gave me. Do you want to try cultivating it? Tianyang had given Qi Yingtian a lesser primordial secret art he had created. The secret art of 7 stars had become less and less useful as time passed, but Tianyang could still draw on its ideas and continue to create it. After all, his cultivation was much stronger than Myriad Star, who had created the secret art of 7 stars. What he had given Qi Yingtian was a product of his creation. Although it was only one move, it was very suitable for the current situation. It was Tianyang's way of thanking the Crimson Dragon Saint. Qi Yingtian had only cultivated a little, but he suddenly realized that the pressure of the array formation didn't seem as strong as before. Forget it. Lan Ji shook his head and looked meaningfully at Tianyang. It's better not to cultivate something that belongs to an outsider. Although Tianyang is strong, even Lord Tian Longsheng has a problem with him. He might have good intentions towards you, but to us, moreover, Qi Yingtian, you are the son of the Crimson Dragon Saint and have the bloodline of a great sage. Maybe this guy is trying to curry favor with you. Some of the geniuses of the Dragon clan speculated. How can a human be so good? I'm afraid Tianyang is using you as a guinea pig because he can't cultivate it himself. Qi Yingtian, you're too naive. Some of the Dragon clan members warned Qi Yingtian. Qi Yingtian was furious. How can Brother Tianyang be that kind of person? You must be dumbfounded by that old bastard Tian Longsheng's nonsense. If you don't want to learn, then so be it. I'm going to follow Brother Tianyang. Qi Yingtian said angrily, then activated his secret art and began to move forward. Qi Yingtian is too naive. We don't even know this human's background. How can he give something good to Qi Yingtian? Seeing Qi Yingtian begin to move forward, the Dragon clan members sneered. Compared to Tianyang, they were more willing to believe Tian Longsheng, who belonged to the same clan. A minute later, Bai Pengyu took a step forward, and they also took a few steps forward. Tianyang's figure was so small that he could not be seen. As for Qi Yingtian, he was more than 10 steps away from him. This, Lan Ji was stunned. Is the power of Qi Yingtian's primordial spirit that strong? In the next moment, their bodies trembled, and their expressions changed drastically. They knew the reason. Wait a minute. Qi Yingtian, wait a minute. What we said before was just a joke. Chapter 1236. Divine Essence Grotto Heaven, Middle Level. Even with Tianyang's array Dao cultivation and primordial spirit realm, he was unable to continue walking after reaching the middle level. At this moment, the oppressive force was like a terrifying giant hammer that weighed more than 10,000 kilograms, smashing towards Tianyang's primordial spirit from all directions. There was no blind spot. Even the smallest corner of Tianyang's soul sea was still crazily hammered by this terrifying hammer. Such a terrifying oppressive force. If it was another person, they would probably vomit blood and die. Their primordial spirit would shatter and die. As for Tianyang, after pondering for a while, he sat down cross-legged. Divine Desolate Heaven Spirit Art, activate. Immediately, the little bit of divine essence power in the array was forcefully absorbed by Tianyang, fusing into his primordial spirit. As for his primordial spirit, it was still like a piece of red-hot steel being hammered crazily, tempering its strength, removing impurities, and slowly advancing towards an even stronger direction. And at this moment, the growing devil seal that had been hidden all this time suddenly erupted. The growing devil seal was not without intelligence. Once Tianyang entered a state of cultivation, it would immediately attack and crush Tianyang's primordial spirit. However, Tianyang had already expected this and chuckled. The terrifying power of the sky firmament sword immediately formed a huge protective shield outside Tianyang's soul sea, firmly protecting his soul sea. Not a single bit of demonic chi could enter. However, the crazy attack of the growing devil seal would affect the primordial spirit. On the basis of the divine essence grotto heaven's oppressive force, another attack would come. Under such a terrifying tempering, Tianyang's expression also changed slightly. However, he did not have the slightest intention of retreating. Cultivation was like rowing a boat against the current. One step back, one step back. Finally, he returned to the starting point and did not advance an inch. And under such a state, Tianyang also entered a deep state of cultivation. His primordial spirit was also constantly becoming stronger at a stable speed. Tianyang stopped. Ha ha ha. I knew it. He would definitely not be able to go on forever. Behind him, Bai Pengyu, who had just walked 30 steps, burst out into wild laughter when he saw Tianyang stop. The growth devil seal was set by the heavenly dragon sage to activate immediately after entering a state of cultivation. Since Tianyang had stopped, the next step would be to cultivate. The moment Tianyang entered the state of cultivation, the growth devil seal would be activated. Then, it would be effortless to kill Tianyang. Why isn't Tianyang dead? Bai Pengyu was stunned for a moment when he saw that Tianyang did not immediately vomit blood and die after sitting down cross-legged. Then, a cold smile appeared on his face. So you're just putting up a desperate struggle? That's right. To be able to travel such a long distance in the divine origin paradise, the power of the primordial spirit is not bad. It's not too difficult to resist the growth devil seal for a period of time. However, sooner or later, you'll still die. Then, Bai Pengyu sneered as he advanced. On the other hand, Lan Ji and the others looked at Bai Pengyu with a hint of fear on their faces. They did not expect Bai Pengyu to really attack Tianyang. With the terrifying power of the heavenly dragon tribe, Tianyang was most likely doomed. Only giving Qi Yingtian the secret technique to advance, but he doesn't know how to share it. Such a selfish person deserves to be killed by the heavenly dragon sage. Wu Zun, a top genius of the white dragon tribe, sneered as he looked at Qi Yingtian, who was already more than 100 steps away. His eyes were filled with jealousy. They were still in the first 30 steps, and they had already done their best. However, Qi Yingtian had used the secret technique that Tianyang had given him to walk more than 100 steps. It was very likely that he was even stronger. The deeper one went into the divine origin paradise, the stronger the tempering effect on the primordial spirit. At most, they could only walk a few dozen steps. They were completely incomparable to Qi Yingtian and Tianyang. The biggest winner of the divine origin paradise was not them. How could these arrogant geniuses of the dragon tribe endure this? Instead of talking about this, why don't you work hard yourself? At the side, Jin Zhan spoke indifferently. He took a few steps forward and continued forward. Isn't it just cultivating a few more Saint Daos? Showing off in front of us every day. Seeing this, the white dragon tribe's genius expression turned ugly. 7 days later, most of the dragon tribe's geniuses had already tested their limits. They chose a level and began cultivating. As for Qi Yingtian, he was at the edge of the divine origin paradise's outer layer and could no longer advance. He was still a few hundred steps away from Tianyang. Jin Zhan had also walked more than 300 steps and was not far from Qi Yingtian. The only one who was still moving forward was Bai Pengyu. He refused to accept this. How could a human surpass him, the strongest genius of the heavenly dragon tribe? How could a guy who wasn't even one of the 4 great dragon tribes surpass him? Not only did he want to move forward, but he also wanted to see how Tianyang was devoured by the demon-growing seal and die. However, although he was still moving forward bit by bit, it was not much different from moving forward bit by bit. Bai Pingyu's eyes were bloodshot, and the blood vessels on his legs were bulging. The pressure on his primordial spirit was already affecting his physical body. However, Bai Pinyu was still moving forward. In the depths of the divine origin paradise, Tianyang frowned as the divine origin paradise's primordial spirit was devoured and refined. The strength of my primordial spirit has already reached the limit of a peak half-saint. Next, I have to break through in one go. The divine origin paradise's effect on tempering the primordial spirit had far exceeded Tianyang's expectations. Tianyang thought that he would only be able to reach the limit of a peak half-saint after a month. He did not expect that he would be able to do it in just 7 days. Then, let's break through. The primordial spirit, Saint Tao, was actually similar to the true essence Saint Tao. As long as the strength reached a certain level, there would be a chance for a breakthrough. Instantly, the boundless primordial spirit power around Tianyang turned into a terrifying soul storm. Tianyang's primordial spirit aura also skyrocketed at this moment. What's going on? Instantly, the remaining geniuses opened their eyes and looked in Tianyang's direction in disbelief. The strength of the primordial spirit storm. Even they were afraid of it. Break for me, Tianyang roared. The terrifying primordial spirit power turned into a raging torrent and slammed into the barrier of the saint's stage. Instantly, Tianyang's spirit sea shook. A trace of blood flowed from the corner of Tianyang's mouth. However, his eyes were unyielding as he continued to attack. Boom, boom, boom. Streams of terrifying primordial spirit power were released in all directions. The entire divine origin paradise was filled with the terrifying waves of energy from Tianyang's breakthrough to the saint's stage. As for the other geniuses, they were completely unable to cultivate. They could only stare at Tianyang with their eyes wide open. Is his primordial spirit becoming a saint? Seeing this, Jin Zhan muttered to himself in disbelief. A peak Wu Zun's primordial spirit was trying to break through to the saint stage? This was too inconceivable. However, this was the only explanation for the current situation. Primordial spirit becoming a saint. Hearing this, Bai Pingyu's expression changed instantly. Primordial spirit becoming a saint was not the same as true essence becoming a saint. It was the most powerful of the 3 primordial spirits becoming saints. As long as Tianyang had enough primordial spirit secret techniques, the power of his primordial spirit becoming a saint could even destroy all of his true essence becoming a saint. A human trying to break through to the saint stage in front of him. A genius of the heavenly dragon tribe? Damn it! Grow demon seal, explode. Bai Pingyu did not care if he was exposed. He immediately roared, and his dragon power went berserk. Instantly, the grow demon seal that was suppressed by Tianyang began to attack wildly. Tianyang's expression changed, and he suddenly spat out a mouthful of blood. No wonder I couldn't break through. It turns out that there's no such thing as breaking through and then rebuilding. However, although he spat out blood, Tianyang's eyes became brighter and brighter. In the next moment, he formed a seal with both hands. Devour. The power of the heavenly sword directly devoured the demonic chi of the grow demon seal. Tianyang's primordial spirit was also infected by the demonic chi at this moment. Then, the devoured demonic chi turned into sharp blades and slashed at the saintly realm barrier. Boom! There was a loud sound. The saint stage barrier shattered. The demonic chi of the grow demon seal was completely consumed. And Tianyang's primordial spirit was the same. He had stepped into the saint's stage. Chapter 12:37. Primordial Spirit, Saint Realm. A terrifying primordial spirit aura swept across the entire divine origin wonderland. It was as if the whole wonderland was going to be torn apart. It was exactly 1 month since Tianyang had entered the divine origin wonderland. Stepping into the saint realm from the primordial spirit of an ordinary sage-to-be was something that even the peerless geniuses would not dare to think about. However, not only did Tianyang think about it, but he also did it. However, in this 1 month, there was half a month where the group of geniuses did not cultivate at all. They could only passively absorb the primordial spirit through the oppression of the divine origin wonderland. Compared to actively cultivating, it was a far cry. Is this the primordial spirit sanctification? Jinzhan looked at Tianyang with burning eyes. He was different from the other geniuses of the dragon tribe. He did not care whether Tianyang was from the dragon tribe or not. He only cared about one thing: Tianyang's strength. Ever since he lost to Tianyang in the Cloudy Sky battle ring, Jinzhan had been paying attention to Tianyang. He was shocked when he heard that Tianyang was undefeated against the Heavenly Dragon Saint. However, he did not fully believe it. However, now that Tianyang had stepped into the Saint realm in front of the 9 geniuses of the Dragon tribe, he had to believe it. The current Tianyang, even if the Heavenly Dragon Saint were to fight him again, it would be impossible for him to defeat him. Jinzhan sighed. He was a martial arts fanatic and had an endless thirst for strength. If he could defeat Tianyang, it would mean that he had reached a certain level of strength. However, as time passed, this goal seemed to be getting further and further away. The current Tianyang, perhaps I should call him Saint Tianyang. Primordial spirit sanctification was only called a saint. To be called a saint, one had to have the combat strength of a peak saint. Although the Heavenly Dragon Saint had the cultivation of a peak saint, his battle record was not strong. Therefore, he could not be called a saint. However, Tianyang's primordial spirit sanctification was undefeated against the Heavenly Dragon Saint when Wu Zun was at his peak. He was fully qualified to be called a saint. Greetings, Saint Tianyang. Jinzhan bowed slightly and shouted. Hearing this, the dragons were also stunned. Then their expressions became solemn. No matter how much prejudice they had against Tianyang before, at this moment, in the face of absolute strength, they could only bow down. Greetings, Lord Tianyang. Even Qiying Tian was no exception. It wasn't that their friendship had faded, but rather, it was a basic respect for the strong. How is that possible? How is that possible? Bai Pingyu, on the other hand, was completely mad. He looked at Tianyang with bloodshot eyes. He was the furthest away from Tianyang. When Tianyang broke through, he could cultivate. However, he did not do so because he wanted to see Tianyang's primordial spirit explode under the interference of the growth devil seal. In the end, the nurturing devil seal? However, it was still forcefully devoured by Tianyang. He even used the demonic chi of the growing devil seal to allow his primordial spirit to erupt with terrifying power at the moment of life and death, breaking through the barrier of the saint stage in one fell swoop. This result was completely unacceptable to Bai Pengyu. He wanted Tianyang dead. How is it possible for your primordial spirit to become a saint? How can you be called a saint? It's fake. It's all fake awe. Bai Pengyu roared. He actually ignored the strength of his primordial spirit and rushed towards Tianyang. How dare you offend a saint? You're courting death. Hearing this, Jinzhan's expression changed. Just as he was about to attack, Bai Pengyu's body stopped. He had forgotten that this was the divine origin paradise. The power of the divine origin paradise's array formation was not something that a primordial spirit saint could interfere with. If he had stayed put, Tianyang might not have taken his life. However, this guy of all people rushed out crazily. In an instant, who knew how many steps he had taken? The sudden increase in the pressure of the primordial spirit naturally caused by Pengyu's primordial spirit to explode in an instant. Boom! With a loud bang, Bai Pengyu's entire body fell to the ground. With his primordial spirit shattered, even a Saint Emperor would not be able to save him. There's nothing in the world. Looking at the completely dead Bai Pengyu, Tianyang shook his head and sighed. Then, the majestic power of the primordial spirit was retracted into his body in an instant. Tianyang's aura was also completely restrained. Even a supreme saint like the Red Dragon Saint could not see through Tianyang's cultivation. A month of cultivation in the divine origin paradise all spent on the cultivation of the primordial spirit. However, the results are not bad. The primordial spirit, saint, was known as a saint. Such an existence was equivalent to 4 peak saints of the Snow Sky Fox clan. Tianyong did not believe that the Snow Sky Fox clan would dare to disobey a saint. Moreover, the Red Dragon Saint would also be going. A supreme saint and a saint, the Snow Sky Fox clan's young master, would be reduced to ashes in an instant. Then, you guys should cultivate well. There are still 2 or 3 days left. Tianyong chuckled. Although Tianyong could continue to enter the Divine Origin Paradise's array formation after his primordial spirit entered the Divine Origin Paradise, he did not. Rather than continue to strengthen, it was better to stabilize his foundation. This breakthrough was more or less a trick. His foundation was not very stable. If he continued to improve, it would cause his foundation to collapse. It would be better not to cultivate. The remaining geniuses of the dragon tribe looked at each other as Tianyong walked out of the array formation with ease. Their eyes were filled with shock and battle intent. Tianyong had entered the saint realm, and they were not even half-saints. How could their prideful hearts tolerate this? Tianyong did not care about this. The true dragon's sacred domain had done him a favor. It was not bad that his breakthrough could encourage the geniuses of the true dragon's sacred domain to improve. The last 3 or 4 days were not long. Under Tianyong's stimulation, the geniuses of the true dragon's sacred domain had made great progress. Of the remaining 8 peak Wuzun, 5 of them had their primordial spirits touch the barrier of the half-saint realm. Qi Ying Tian and Jin Zhan's primordial spirits had entered the half-saint realm. Compared to the strength of some saints, it was not much weaker. Finally, Divine Origin Paradise close. A loud roar could be heard all of a sudden. The 8 geniuses of the true dragon's sacred ground who were cultivating were awakened too. Their faces were filled with reluctance. The Divine Origin Paradise was indeed a sacred place for primordial spirits to cultivate. If they could stay here for another month, almost all of them could enter the half-saint realm. But it's still not as good as him. Someone looked at Tianyong, who was cultivating with his eyes closed, and sighed. In the next moment, Tianyong and the others were forcefully sent out of the Divine Origin Paradise. 8 dragons, 1 person, and a corpse. How is Tianyong still alive? Outside the Divine Origin Paradise, the heavenly dragon, Saint looked at Tianyong in disbelief. How could Tianyong survive with the help of the growth demon seal? However, in the next moment, the heavenly dragon, Saint, noticed something. His Bai Pengyu was still lying on the ground. You are... The heavenly dragon, Saint's pupils contracted as he looked at the lifeless corpse in disbelief. In the next moment, a roar sounded as the true yuan of a peak saint exploded. The heavenly dragon, Saint, charged towards Tianyong. Chapter 1238. Divine Dragon Annihilation. Heavenly Dragon Sage roared as his true yuan exploded. His right hand turned into a dragon claw and clawed out. A terrifying annihilation light wave burst out from the dragon claw and enveloped Tianyong. Bai Pengyu was the strongest genius of the heavenly dragon tribe. Almost the entire tribe had placed their hopes on Bai Pengyu. Even Bai Pengyu could not replace Bai Pengyu. However, Bai Pengyu had died after entering the Divine Origin Cave. Coupled with what he had done, was there a need to ask who killed him? Since you is dead, you shall be buried with me. The annihilation light wave, along with the terrifying dragon claw, struck Tianyong's body. However, contrary to heavenly dragon sage's expectations, blood splattered everywhere and his body exploded. His primordial spirit was annihilated in an instant. His dragon claw seemed to have struck the air. There was no feeling at all. Illusion. Heavenly Dragon Sage reacted instantly as his face changed slightly. He quickly turned around. However, there was no trace of Tianyong behind him. Do you only know how to look behind you? At this moment, a chuckle came from above. Divine Piercing Blade. In an instant, a terrifying ray of light shot towards the Heavenly Dragon Saint's head. How is this possible? A terrifying sense of danger shrouded Heavenly Dragon Sage. Heavenly Dragon Sage's face changed drastically as he raised both his hands to strike. However, it was useless. The divine piercing blade was an attack of the primordial spirit. How could a mere true Yuan resist the divine piercing blade? Heavenly Dragon Sage's eyes widened as if his primordial spirit had been torn apart. Ah! Heavenly Dragon Sage roared as his body trembled, and he ran away. Divine Origin Sage. Heavenly Dragon Sage ran a few dozen miles away. After half a minute, he finally regained some of his energy. If Tianyang hadn't just stood there and used 10,000 Mammoth Annihilation, Tian Longsheng would have been crippled even if he didn't die. How can you be a Divine Origin Sage? Heavenly Dragon Sage roared. As a Pinnacle Sage, although he was not a Divine Origin Sage, he knew what a Divine Origin Sage was like. At least, Tianyang's Divine Piercing Blade was enough to defeat a Divine Origin Sage. However, Heavenly Dragon Sage still could not accept it. If Tianyang had fought him a month ago, there was an 80 to 90% chance that he would have defeated him. At most, Tianyang would have been able to resist for the first 300 moves. After a month in the Divine Essence Grotto Heaven, Tianyang had actually stepped into the Essence Divine Lord realm. Even he could not guarantee that he could win against Tianyang. Heavenly Dragon Sage could not accept this. However, Tianyang's face was still cold and indifferent. This was not the first time Tianlong Saint had wanted to kill him. If not for the presence of the Crimson Dragon Saint and the fact that he did not have many Primordial Spirit secret techniques, he could have used the power of his Primordial Spirit to kill the Celestial Dragon Saint. However, Tianyang stopped. Tianlong Saint was injured and retreated, while the others were completely shocked. Divine Sage. A great sage represented the strongest existence below a great sage. Although Origin Sacred Lords might not be able to do this, no one dared to deny that Origin Sacred Lords didn't have the potential to do so. As long as he had sufficient Essence Soul Mystic techniques, he would even dare to fight a great sage in a one-on-one battle, much less a Pinnacle Saint. No one was surprised that such an existence could suppress the Heavenly Dragon Saint. However, what shocked them the most was that it was Tianyang who had become the Origin God Sage. This speed of improvement is too fast. Even the Crimson Dragon Sage was moved. Compared to becoming a true Essence Saint and becoming a true Essence Saint, it was much weaker. Even for great saints, it wasn't 100% certain that the power of their primordial spirit could reach the Saint realm. Tianyang's cultivation was only at the peak of Wu Zun's 9th level. He wasn't even a half-saint, yet he was able to step into the realm of Origin Divine Lord. This was too strong. Even those saint emperors who were famous for their Yuan spirits had not achieved what Tianyang had. Damn bastard. Bastard. The Heavenly Dragon Saint stood where he was, coughing up blood. The God-piercing blade targeted the primordial spirit. With one slash, it had directly injured the Heavenly Dragon Saint's primordial spirit. Primordial spirit injuries were different from physical injuries. In order to heal, one had to use extremely powerful treasures or use time to slowly recover. Otherwise, there was no other way. However, Tianyang couldn't be bothered with the Heavenly Dragon Saint. He stepped into the air and walked toward the Crimson Dragon Sage. His eyes were filled with killing intent. Since he had already stepped into the realm of Origin Divine Lord, he had to consider how to settle the score with the Snow Sky Fox clan. What a coincidence, the Crimson Dragon Sage said. He waved his right hand and took out a blue invitation letter from his space bag. This is an invitation letter from the Snow Sky Fox clan. You should know why they're inviting me. The Crimson Dragon Sage smiled. Tianyang had already stepped into the realm of Origin Divine Lord. His true essence cultivation was still at the peak of Wu Zun's. However, the Crimson Dragon Sage still had to treat Tianyang as an equal. I know. Tianyang nodded slightly. In the next moment, a terrifying aura was released from his body. As soon as the aura of his primordial spirit was released, everything around him seemed to be covered by a sea of blood. With his primordial spirit entering the realm of Saint, the power of the massacre territory also increased tremendously. Now, Other than his true essence, Tianyang was no different from a saint. However, the strength of the Snow Sky Fox clan doesn't seem to be as simple as it seems. If you go, you have to be careful, the Crimson Dragon Sage said. Hearing this, Tianyang nodded. He had considered this point as well. Otherwise, he wouldn't have to risk his life to enter the realm of Saint. How much time do we have? Tianyang spoke in a voice as cold as the 9 heavens' mysterious ice. The heavenly dragon, Sage, suddenly felt a chill run down his spine. The injuries of his primordial spirit seemed to have worsened. At this moment, the murderous intent that Tianyang displayed was completely incomparable to the murderous intent that Tianyang had towards him. It was as if the grudge that he wanted to kill Yi Futian was nothing compared to other things. 5 days later, big gift, the Crimson Dragon Sage said. Hearing this, Tianyang's expression didn't change. He waved his right hand. Suddenly, a spatial door that led to the outside world was torn open in the space. This is my small world. Don't be so violent. Seeing this, the Crimson Dragon Sage smiled. Tianyang didn't say a word and immediately walked in. The Crimson Dragon Sage turned around and said, I'm going to the Snow Sky Fox clan. You guys behave yourselves. His gaze was especially directed at the Heavenly Dragon Sage. Then, he stepped into the spatial door. The Heavenly Dragon Sage, who wasn't named but was clearly warned, looked at the spatial door that was slowly closing. His face twitched. Chapter 1239. Northern Spiritual State, Snow Fox Clan, Snow Sky Holy Mountain. Snow Sky Holy Mountain was located in the deepest part of the Snow Sky Mountain Range. It was the highest peak of the Snow Sky Mountain Range. It was also the place with the densest spiritual chi in the entire Northern Spiritual State. Although it was not a small world, the spiritual chi was stronger than any other small world. So, you're still unwilling to marry my son, Ling Yer? Snow Sky Holy Mountain, peak of the mountain, Snow God's Hall. A tall middle-aged man with sharp eyes and a huge snow-white fox tail swinging behind him looked down at the young girl in front of him from a high vantage point. The young lady stared at the middle-aged man and said angrily, Get lost. Fine. Hearing this, the middle-aged man revealed a cold expression. You don't want to? Now that you are in the hands of the Snow Sky Fox clan, it is not up to you to decide. The 9-tailed moon fox bloodline and the 9 nether same body. Since you are in the hands of the Snow Sky Fox clan, there is no reason for you to leave. You can either marry Ling, or you can be imprisoned until you die. You only have one choice. The middle-aged man said coldly. The young lady laughed coldly. When my master comes, killing the Snow Sky Fox clan will be as easy as killing chickens. Moreover, if you want to force me to marry that idiot, you will be marrying a corpse. My cultivation will be sealed, and I will commit suicide. I can still do that, Ling Yuhan said angrily. The middle-aged man's face darkened. Humph, your master has been your master for so long. Isn't he just a Wu Zun realm trash from an ordinary large world? Now, whether he has reached Wu Zun realm or not is a problem. How can he be your master? If he comes, Ling Er can defeat him with one finger. You are not allowed to insult my master, Ling Yuhan shouted angrily. Her eyes were about to spit fire. The middle-aged man snorted. With your talent, if you marry Ling Er, you will complement each other. You will definitely lead the Snow Sky Fox clan to greater heights. If you give birth to the crown prince of the Fox clan, your status will be even higher. You might even be able to stand shoulder to shoulder with the saints of the true dragon, sacred world. However, if you continue to be stubborn, then don't blame me for being impolite, the middle-aged man said angrily. Hearing this, Ling Yuhan spat disdainfully. Bah, I don't care what you think. 5 days later, I will invite countless experts from various forces. Among them, there will even be supreme saints from the true dragon sacred world. At that time, even if you don't want to marry, you will have to. With that, the middle-aged man flicked his sleeves and left. With a wave of his hand, the door closed. As for Ling Yuhan, after the middle-aged man left, her expression became incomparably sad. Master, can't I see you one last time before I die? Father, I think I've said it many times already. I want to pursue Ling Yuhan openly, and I don't want you to force her. This is completely unfair to her. Moreover, even if I do marry her, what's the difference between marrying a puppet? As soon as the middle-aged man walked out, an angry roar came from the side. Hearing this, the middle-aged man's gloomy face became even more unsightly. Fair? In this world, there is no such thing as fairness. Since she has the God Spirit bloodline of the Fox clan and a terrifying physique like the Nine Nether Saint body, how can we let her go when she is in the hands of the Snow Sky Fox clan? You are still too naive. You like her, so I allow you to marry her. However, even if you don't like her, I will still force you to marry her. The middle-aged man said coldly. Opposite him was the young master of the Snow Sky Fox clan, Jiang Shuling, who had been eavesdropping outside the door. Everything is for the benefit of the Snow Sky Fox clan. It is enough to give her a year and a half to change her mind. If you still can't change your mind after a year and a half, then I can't wait any longer. You better be prepared and wait for the big gift in 5 days. The Supreme Saint of the spiritual state from the true Dragon Sacred World, the Red Dragon Saint, will also come. If you don't prepare well, I will cripple you on the spot. The middle-aged man said indifferently. Then his body flashed. His entire body had disappeared. However, the middle-aged man was secretly confused. Why would the Red Dragon Saint agree to come? Although the Snow Sky Fox clan was powerful, they were reclusive and didn't have much influence. They didn't have much connection with the true Dragon Sacred World. Among the 4 supreme saints of the spiritual state, only the Red Dragon Saint of the true Dragon Sacred World, who had the furthest connection, came. The others, who were also from the Demon Clan, didn't come. Why was that? However, the middle-aged man was only confused. He didn't show it and left. Jiang Shuling, the young master of the Snow Sky Fox clan, looked terrible. In the end, she could only sigh. Yuhan, just you wait. In 5 days, I will definitely change my father's mind. Although I know that your master has a high position in your heart. After all, he is only I will say it again. Get lost. Only my master can call me Yuhan. Do you deserve it? Ling Yuhan snorted coldly. Instantly, the Nine Nether Saint body was activated. Her cultivation strength was sealed, but didn't mean that her physique was useless. In an instant, the entire prison cell was covered by a layer of indestructible ice. No matter what Jiang Shuling said outside, it was impossible for any sound to enter the prison cell. Sigh. Jiang Shuling sighed and could only turn and leave. The distance between the North Spiritual State and the West Spiritual State, where the true Dragon Sacred World was located, wasn't too far. With the horrifying speed of Tianyang and the Red Dragon Saint, they arrived at the Snow Sky mountain range from the true Dragon Sacred World in 4 days. At this moment, the Snow Sky mountain range was already crowded with people. There were humans, demons, and even various evil cultivators and demon cultivators. Even the weakest cultivator was Wu Zun at the peak of level 8, and the strongest had entered the Saint realm. However, the only great saint present was the Crimson Dragon Sage. The Red Dragon Saint? Hiss! Why is he here? As one of the 4 supreme saints of the spiritual state, the Red Dragon Saint was not the weakest supreme saint. Thus, he was highly recognized among the countless cultivators of the spiritual state. However, as soon as he appeared, the Red Dragon Saint was recognized by countless cultivators. Instantly, countless cultivators gasped as they watched in disbelief as the Red Dragon Saint and Tianyang flew into the Snow Sky mountain range. I didn't expect the Snow Sky Fox clan to be able to invite the Red Dragon Saint. Such strength can't be underestimated. A saint exclaimed. Being able to befriend the Red Dragon Saint showed how powerful the Snow Sky Fox clan was. Some saints with powerful backgrounds even began to plan how to befriend the Snow Sky Fox clan. Just as the Red Dragon Saint stepped into the Snow Sky mountain range, a figure suddenly flew out of the Snow Sky Divine Mountain. The Red Dragon Saint has come from afar. Your presence brings light to the Snow Sky Fox clan. The person who came was the current clan leader of the Snow Sky Fox clan. Chapter 1240. We can act on our own. You must have a lot of things to do for the ceremony. You don't have to trouble yourself. Once Jiang Tianbing appeared, the Red Dragon Saint could feel that the pressure around Tianyang had dropped significantly. If this continued, the Red Dragon Saint could not guarantee that he could stop Tianyang from using the power of a divine sage to kill Jiang Tianbing. Therefore, he could only decline. Is that so? Jiang Tianbing was stunned. He thought that since the Red Dragon Saint had accepted his invitation, he would be easy to talk to. However, the strong had their own habits. Perhaps the Red Dragon Saint liked to be alone and did not like others to arrange things for him. Then, Red Dragon Saint, please do as you wish. I will take my leave first. Jiang Tianbing smiled. Hearing this, Red Dragon Saint nodded slightly. Then, he continued to fly with Tianyang in the Snow Sky mountain range. Did you want to kill the Snow Sky Fox Clan leader just now? The Crimson Dragon Sage said with a smile as they came to a secluded corner. Tianyang shook his head. I can't. The Snow Sky Fox Clan leader is also a divine sage. Compared to me, who became a divine sage through the divine sage primordial spirit, he is much stronger. Even if I can kill him with your help, you won't do it. I can't find where Yuhan is. Tianyang said. The more critical the moment was, the calmer Tianyang was. Although he had used the god-piercing blade to severely injure the Snow Sky Fox Clan leader's primordial spirit and capture him, there was a possibility that he could take away Ling Yuhan. However, there were also those from the Snow Sky Fox Clan who flew into a rage out of humiliation and chose to kill Ling Yuhan. Now that things had come to this, even if there was a possibility that Ling Yuhan would be in danger, Tianyang would never do it. The Red Dragon Saint could see the fluctuation in Tianyang's heart and could not help but sigh. Who was Ling Yuhan? How could she make Tianyang, who usually did not show his emotions, so concerned? Luckily, I don't have a daughter. Otherwise, I would have a headache right now. The Red Dragon Sage teased, but Tianyang did not say a word. As time passed, more and more cultivators appeared in the Snowy Sky mountain range. Although the Snow Sky Fox Clan was not well known outside, they still had 4 peak sages. It was possible that they were 4 great sages. Some sects with great saints were also willing to give face and send a few saints to show respect to the Snow Fox Clan. As for the other powerful rogue cultivators, although they were not invited by the Snow Fox Clan, they were still allowed to enter the Snow Sky mountain range. It was as if he wanted to use this to create momentum. This is the Snow Sky Fox Clan. If I didn't know that these people were being forced, I would have thought that this was a grand wedding of mutual consent. The Scarlet Dragon Saint said with a frown. He did not like such forceful actions. However, as a great sage of the true dragon sacred world, he could not make a move immediately. It seems that almost everyone is here. After a while, Jiang Tianbing glanced at the Snow Sky mountain range, where people were coming and going. A faint smile appeared at the corner of his mouth. In fact, he had waited for 4 days for the Scarlet Dragon Sage. Now that the Scarlet Dragon Sage was here, nothing else mattered. Then, Jiang Tianbing smiled. The next moment, he spoke. His deep voice spread across the entire true dragon sacred world. Since all of you are too enthusiastic, the Snow Sky Fox Clan will not let you down. Therefore, the wedding ceremony will be held in advance. Jiang Tianbing said with a smile. He had to strike while the iron was hot. If it was too late and something unexpected happened, it would be a huge problem. Jiang Tianbing wanted to control Ling Yuhan's 9-tailed moon fox bloodline as soon as possible. In advance, the cultivators were startled. They had agreed to hold the wedding tomorrow. Why was it starting now? However, cultivators did not care about the auspicious day when they were getting married. It happened to be morning now. There was no difference in holding the wedding ceremony. In advance? However, Tianyang squinted when he heard this. Rays of dangerous light flashed across his eyes. If we hadn't arrived early, wouldn't we have missed it? That Jiang Tianbing is truly scheming. Even if there were troublemakers, they would have been caught unprepared and would only arrive tomorrow. Hearing this, the Scarlet Dragon Sage nodded slightly. Then, the 2 of them flew into the sky and stepped into the snow palace at the peak of the Snow Sky Holy Mountain. Yuhan, the wedding ceremony has been brought forward. In the depths of the snow palace, Jiang Shuling walked to the ice curtain with a gentle look on her face. Although I'm not your true love, I believe that time can change everything. Your master may be good to you, but he is just an ordinary cultivator in the Wuzun realm. He is not worthy of her nine-tailed moon fox bloodline and the nine-nether saint body. The wedding ceremony will be in a while. I hope you are ready, Jiang Shuling said and walked out of the door. He wanted to welcome the day with his best appearance. Within the ice curtain, Ling Yuhan did not hear anything. Her face was filled with despair. She had been captured by the Snow Sky Fox clan a few days after arriving at the Xiantian Great World. She did not know that there were half-saints and sages above the Wuzun realm. She also did not know the power of the four great saints of the Snow Sky Fox clan. However, she knew one thing. There was no way she could escape from them. If I don't have a chance to escape at the last moment, then I will kill myself immediately. Sorry, Master. I can't see you. The entire Snow Palace was huge. The hundreds of sages invited by the Snow Sky Fox clan and the tens of thousands of Wuzun who had come because of the Snow Sky Fox clan's reputation entered the palace. The Snow Sky Fox clan had carefully decorated the main hall of the Snow God Palace. The ice flowers were bright and beautiful, and the ice sculptures were vivid and picturesque. Jiang Tianbing chuckled as he looked at the tens of thousands of guests. His gaze was especially focused on the Scarlet Dragon Sage and Tianyang at the front. Then, the wedding will be held in advance. Jiang Tianbing smiled. The next moment, a tall and handsome figure walked out from the left side of the Snow God Palace. He was dressed in white, and his expression was solemn. His handsome face exuded endless charm. Some of the Snow Sky Fox clan members who were watching outside could not help but feel a rush of excitement. In his hand was a bunch of ice flowers formed by the vital essence of a peak half-saint. They were blooming with brilliant light. The clan leader is too much. Why does a genius like the young master want to marry a weakling who ascended from another world? The young master is also too much. There are so many beautiful women in the clan that he doesn't like, but he likes that weakling. That weakling is also too much. She actually rejected the young master several times. If it were me, I would have agreed long ago. A group of women from the Snow Sky Fox clan whispered to each other. The next moment, a woman slowly walked out from the right side of the main hall. Compared to the men's splendid clothes, the woman's robes were very ordinary. However, when she raised her head, her beauty caused this ordinary robe to become a riot of colors. That's the robes I gave her at the beginning, Tianyang said slowly. There was an uncontrollable murderous intent in his words. Hearing this, the Red Dragon Saint's expression changed. He looked at Jiang Tianbing with dissatisfaction. However, Jiang Tianbing did not notice it at all. He looked proudly at Ling Yuhan, who was as empty and despairing as a marionette. Jiang Shuling, are you willing to marry Ling Yuhan? I am willing, Jiang Shuling said without hesitation. Ling Yuhan, are you willing to marry Jiang Shuling? Jiang Tianbing chuckled. There were tens of thousands of Wuzun and hundreds of saints present. There was even a Red Dragon Saint, who was a supreme saint. He did not believe that Ling Yuhan would dare to rebel in such a place. I am not willing. Ling Yuhan, on the other hand, glared at Jiang Tianbing with hatred in his eyes as he enunciated each word clearly. Hearing this, all the guests' expressions changed slightly. What was going on? Jiang Tianbing's expression turned cold, but he turned around as if nothing had happened. Are there any objections? The entire place was silent. Jiang Tianbing smiled slightly and was about to turn around. The Red Dragon Saint suddenly stood up. With a smile, he said, I'm sorry. Tianyang said indifferently. An extremely cold and terrifying murderous intent filled the entire place. Chapter 1241. I don't agree. With a cold yell, a murderous spirit that seemed to come from the netherworld instantly filled the entire Snow God Palace. The ice flowers and the sculptures turned into dust and disappeared completely. The ice flower in Jiang Shuling's hand also turned into dust at this moment. Hearing this voice that was so familiar to the depths of his heart, Ling Yuhan was instantly dumbfounded. His empty eyes emitted rays of brilliance. His head stiffly turned around, until he saw Tianyang's face, which he had always kept in his heart. "Master!" Tears flew out of Ling Yuhan's eyes. She dashed toward Tianyang without caring about anything else. Damn it! At this moment, Jiang Tianbing, whose plan had been disrupted, turned extremely gloomy. He roared and attacked without looking at who it was. Not only was it a true essence saint, but it was also a half-step great saint. Only now did people realize that the Snow Sky Fox clan had more than 4 great saints. One of them was a half-step beyond the saint realm and had stepped into the great saint realm. Half-step great saint. Tianyang pulled Ling Yuhan into his arms. With murderous spirit in his eyes, the great void sword embryo appeared in his hand. Sword breaking 9 desolation. He slashed out with the perfect sword Dao of the saint realm. Boom! The half-step great saint's furious strike collided with the sword-breaking 9 desolation. In the next moment, countless horrifying energy storms erupted. Tianyang stood where he was, unmoving. With the vital spirit of the saint realm protecting him, he wasn't affected at all. As a half-step great saint, Jiang Tianbing couldn't be hurt. However, this energy storm still turned countless temporary chairs into ice powder and affected countless powerhouses. What's going on? Some saints looked shocked. Jiang Tianbing didn't notice it in his fury, but they had seen it with their own eyes. The only great saint present, the most powerful master of the Shieling state and one of the 4 ultimate masters of the spiritual state, stood up. They had thought that the Snow Sky Fox clan could invite Red Dragon and Dragon Saint because they had a good relationship with the true dragon sacred realm. But now, it seemed that this wasn't the case. How dare you disrupt my Snow Sky Fox clan's business? You're simply courting death. Jiang Tianbing shouted and disappeared from where he was. A huge snow-white fox tail swung, and his demonic power burst out. Everything around them seemed to have turned into a world of ice and snow. A claw imbued with violent killing intent also broke through space and ruthlessly slashed towards Tianyang. 10,000 mammoths, annihilation. Tianyang's eyes were cold. He waved his sword with one hand, and in an instant, the 4 great paths merged into his sword. From top to bottom, the sword slashed out. A terrifying sword light instantly swept across the universe and collided with the claw of a half-step great sage. Boom! An incomparably terrifying explosion erupted, and everything in the surroundings was completely turned into ice and snow dust. Streams of extremely thick and solid Yuan spirit power enveloped Tianyang and Li Wuyo, completely isolating them from the aftershocks. As for the 10,000 mammoths' destruction, even though it was destroyed by the claw imprint was unable to unleash any of its power. It vanished after colliding with the barrier of Tianyang's primordial spirit. Damn you, bastard! Jiang Tianbing's eyes were bloodshot. He roared angrily and charged forward again. However, the Red Dragon Saint also moved at this moment. In an instant, he arrived in front of Jiang Tianbing. With a flick of his finger, Jiang Tianbing's forward momentum instantly stopped. In the next second, he was directly sent flying by the flick of his finger. "I'm sorry, your opponent is me." The Red Dragon Saint withdrew his right hand and said with a smile. Countless Wuzun saints around had already turned pale with fright. They came to the edge of the Snow God Palace, afraid that they would be affected by this battle. The only one who didn't move was Jiang Shuling, who was at the center of the venue, holding a broken ice flower in her hand. "So this is what you truly love." Jiang Shuling glanced blankly at Tianyang, who was holding Ling Yuhan in his arms. Looking at the extremely happy expression on Ling Yuhan's face, she felt as if her heart was about to shatter. He was the young master of the Snow Sky Fox clan and should have been high and mighty. However, it was just a year ago that he first met Ling Yuhan, who had been captured and brought back. He was completely attracted to Ling Yuhan's unparalleled beauty without any makeup and fell hopelessly in love with her. In the past year, he didn't know how many times he had pursued Ling Yuhan. He even risked being severely injured to ask Jiang Tianbing to set Ling Yuhan free. However, Ling Yuhan was still indifferent. He had already thought that indifference was Ling Yuhan's nature. Until now, looking at Ling Yuhan's bright smile, Jiang Shuling was completely dumbfounded. He knew that no matter what, he couldn't compare to Tianyang. Tianyang didn't look at Jiang Shuling either. He was constantly on guard against the appearance of the other 3 Snow Sky Fox Clan saints. The Red Dragon Saint, you want to go against me? On the side, Jiang Tianbing's face was extremely gloomy. He stared at the Red Dragon Saint, who was smiling calmly in front of him. He thought that since he was half a step into the Supreme Saint realm, even if he couldn't defeat the Red Dragon Saint, he should have a chance to escape from the Red Dragon Saint. However, reality slapped him hard in the face. The gap between a half-step Supreme Saint and a Supreme Saint was like the gap between a peak half-step Saint and a Saint. It was insurmountable. In just half a minute, he had tried to break through hundreds of times. However, the Red Dragon Saint slapped him back every time. Although the power wasn't great, Jiang Tianbing was still injured by the Red Dragon Saint after hundreds of times. I was just doing what I was asked to do, the Red Dragon Saint said with a smile. Moreover, you didn't do a good job in this matter. In that case, don't blame me for being ruthless. Third Supreme Elder, Jiang Tianbing, wiped the blood from the corner of his mouth. His face instantly turned cold as he roared angrily. In the next moment, 3 spatial distortions suddenly appeared around Tianyang. Then, 3 white-robed elders with pale faces and white hair walked out of the spatial distortions. A Peak Wu Zun dares to come to our Snow Sky Fox Clan to steal a marriage? One of the 3 elders had a cold and arrogant expression. Don't think that you can do whatever you want just because you have the Red Dragon Saint. TSK, I thought there were 3 saints. So only one is. A saint had to have the power of a peak saint. Although the Heavenly Dragon Saint was a peak saint, he was already old and didn't deserve to be a saint. Similarly, 2 of the 3 peak saints that appeared were at the same level as the Heavenly Dragon Saint. Only the one who spoke was a true saint. TSK. Hearing this, the Snow Sky Fox Clan's first Supreme Elder had a cold expression. As expected of a Peak Wu Zun ant. You're so arrogant that you even dare to judge a saint. Now go to hell. The first Supreme Elder of the Snow Sky Fox Clan roared and struck out with his palm. Jiang Shuling's pupils contracted as she roared. No. However, when the palm landed, it hit the air. A few hundred meters away, Tianyang gently put down Ling Yuhan. Wait for a moment. Ling Yuhan, on the other hand, revealed a satisfied smile. All right. Then Tianyang stood up. The gentleness on his face instantly turned into a cold, murderous look. You're quite fast. The first Supreme Elder of the Snow Sky Fox Clan was surprised. However, if it's just speed, you won't be able to escape death. In the next moment, the first Supreme Elder of the Snow Sky Fox Clan struck out again. However, this time, Tianyang's lips curled into an evil smile. Fast. Not only that. In the next moment, the first Supreme Elder of the Snow Sky Fox Clan's expression changed drastically. His entire primordial spirit seemed to be torn apart. I'm still the same.